Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 95. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, a sad Lions fan, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
How are you doing, man?
I am just living life at this point as a sad Lions fan, and my coworkers call me that too. So
They I mean, your team made the right decision this past weekend. Fired the coach and GM, clean house. Time to start over, even though they do that every like 2 or 3 years. It seems like, at some point though, they'll get it right. I don't know if it'll be during our lifetimes, but you can't keep missing forever, right? You gotta hit at some point, right, man?
I don't know. I am 30, about to be 32. So they've been missing for about 32 years, 32 years straight.
Yeah, when did Barry Sanders retire? Wasn't it the early 90s?
Yeah, I think it was like 99,
Was it that late?
maybe 97. I gotta check.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not too
no, you
sure.
know what? You might be right. I the 90s for football for me are kind of a blur because I was really young. So I
He
don't
was
really.
in Game Day 97. I know
Okay.
that for a fact because I had that.
He
He was
definitely
in Game
retired
Day.
before 2000.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically since Barry Sanders retired, I mean, honestly, even when Barry Sanders was playing, the Lions have been a complete dumpster fire of a team. Barry Sanders quit football because the Lions suck so much. He just didn't want to play for them anymore. Calvin Johnson did the same thing. I am surprised Matthew Stafford has stuck it out this long because he deserves much, much better than he gets on that team. So hopefully they can hire a good coach this time, but we'll see. Well, Montreal, how's your week, man? How was your Thanksgiving? Everybody, I do apologize. By the way, I didn't say Happy Holidays or Happy Thanksgiving last week. I
Wow,
always
he's
forget.
he's the Grinch. He's the Grinch.
I know. I always forget on these shows because we record like in such weird times and post like 3 days later. My brain, I have to think about this like so far in advance that I don't like, because if I had said Happy Thanksgiving last week, you would have heard it a day later. So we would have had to say it 2 episodes ago, for it to actually like really mean anything. So I always forget, that part of it, that we record these early and then post them like way like a few days later. So it's like the timing is weird on it. But I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, everybody. I did. It was good. I had the whole week off and, I relaxed, and I did some stuff around the house too, actually. But I also cooked chicken cutlets, and man, I fucking love those things, man. They are fantastic.
Chicken cutlets. What are those?
So it's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if they're originally an Italian thing, but that is kind of how I was introduced to them. Obviously, I'm Italian. My family was Italian. We ate a lot of Italian food, and one of my favorite things that my mother would make me was chicken cutlets. And my brother was the same way. We were fiends for these things. Like literally, would murder just like buckets of them if we could. But they're just
Oh
they're
yeah,
just they're just chicken breasts cut really thin sliced, and they're breaded and then fried.
Okay.
And they're usually we bread them with like Italian style breadcrumbs, with Italian style spices on them. So they have a very particular taste, but they are fucking delicious and amazing. They go great on sandwiches. They go great with anything, any vegetables, whatever, dude. They're so good, and I know how to make them very well at this point. So I made myself a batch. My mom got to try my version of chicken cutlets for the first time, and she said they were very, very good. So I was very proud of myself. But yeah, it was a fun Thanksgiving. So what about you, Montreal? Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah. I just had a small Thanksgiving, just me, um, and my family, my immediate family here. Or not immediate family, but my immediate family here. I just ate with them, and that was about it. Um, I sat. We started watching Attack on Titan, the
Ooh,
rewatch.
okay.
So I'm watching it in dub now. Um,
Oh, really? How is that? Is it okay?
I actually understand a lot more stuff now that is in dub. I don't know if it's just me, and maybe I have a reading comprehension issue. I don't know. But like when I read and I'm trying to read and follow what's going on the same time, right? And I hate
Mm-hmm.
pausing,
Yeah.
um, because not only when you pause, like everything comes up, like the menu and all that stuff like that, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, it's just very tedious to pause. So now I haven't watched the first season in forever. I think the first time I watched the first season was like back in 2013 when it first aired.
Yeah, it
2014
was
maybe?
2012, dude. No, it was 2012.
2012?
Yeah,
Okay,
no, it was a long ass time ago, dude. Like,
okay. I knew I wasn't crazy. The only reason I remember that is because I remember I started watching this
yeah,
and then I started reading the manga, but I was in the middle of the season. The middle of the season had a kind of cut. It did like that season jump thing.
yep,
And this is when they were going off into the woods
yep.
uh for the first time, chasing the female titan, I think. And I started reading after that. But I remember I was at my my parents' old house, like the house I grew up in with the two-family flat house.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I remember reading this on this old ass, big ass monitor computer and reading the manga there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense then because they were still there at that time.
Hmm.
Um, Even with like my second from last year of college, I was a junior that year. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I was watching the first season, so it's a lot of shit I just totally forgot. It is one plot hole. Maybe you can fill it in on me, or maybe you probably need to rewatch it too.
Yeah.
Um, we were watching it and we could not figure out how they knew about the female Titan before the female Titan showed up. They knew Aaron can turn into a Titan, but uh they knew
Hmm.
like there was a traitor in their midst, but
Yeah.
they didn't know because they remember they captured those two regular Titans, and then the two regular Titans mysteriously died in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then they started riding off into the forest to scout. And then the general, I can't remember his name. The
Irwin.
Irwin, he gave everyone different commands, right? So that to confuse the traitors or whatever, and it kind of worked. And then they cornered the female Titan in the woods, and then they set up shop. And you know how they tried to capture her in the woods, and that kind of failed. But my thing is like, how did they know that the female Titan there was a female Titan? Like,
Well,
I
did
think
they
that's like
say a
one of the
line?
biggest.
Because my recollection of season one was that they didn't know it was. They knew it was a Titan. Like I think Irwin was smart enough to realize, like, okay, Aaron's not the only one who can do this shit,
Okay,
and they knew there was a traitor. Like they suspected there was a traitor. They didn't know who it was. They didn't know what it was, and that's why
there was
they're.
one line he whispered in Aaron's ear. He was like, "What do you see?" Or whatever, something like that. And do you see something bigger than this or some shit like that? And
Mhm.
Aaron was like, "What the fuck? Like, why is he?" First of all, he's like, "Why is he whispering in my ear or some shit?" But like, he started to realize, like, yeah, there is a traitor. But I guess it was just a huge leap of logic. Like for me, I'm like, I would guess that there's a traitor, but I wouldn't guess that everyone else can become Titans as well. So, I mean, I guess
I think the thing is the series. I don't know if the
spoilers, by
series
the way.
ever. Yeah, I don't know if the series ever explains this, but well, like what you're talking about specifically. But as you get further into the series, it becomes kind of obvious that Arwen has more information than he ever tells you. Like,
Okay,
you know,
okay,
he always has information that you literally don't find out until like after he's executed a plan. So it's one of
see
those
that.
things like that. That's probably the situation is that he already knew people could turn into Titans. It
See,
just you
that
know
was my guess as
at
well.
that
I'm like,
point in
he's just
time, we as viewers though didn't really know that. Like we
yeah,
obviously we knew Aaron could do it, but that was a mind fuck all of itself. So I think that's kind of the thing is it's just a bit of a disconnect there. Like the further you get and the more you experience Irwin, you kind of realize like that kind of thing for him is not out of the ordinary. Where
yeah,
he creates plans around information that the viewer has not even been told yet.
yeah.
So
I get that. Is just um I figured I chopped it up to like, he's a scout, so he goes out on
mhm.
scouts. And I do remember like bits and pieces here and there where they say like, it's like the Titans are moving in a formation, or it's like they're someone's commanding them. So I'm assuming he already knew, him and
Yeah,
Levi already knew someone was out there because they're out there all the time.
yeah.
And the way the Titans are like coming at them and things of that nature is
Yeah, they
not
pay
random.
attention. They pay
Yeah.
attention to the small details. They don't just think these things are like Like they think there's something. That's his whole point with that line is that it's not just about like, oh, there's other Titans. It's more than that. Even it's like there's like a greater order to this whole thing than you're thinking about. You know, it's not. So that is kind of the thing. I don't know. The whole like once you get to seasons 2 and 3 and like especially 3 towards the end of 3, it's like you'll just think about that moment and it's like I don't really put it past Irwin to know way more than he was letting on at that point in time, you know, so that kind of thing doesn't surprise me. If he even knew specifically that there was a female Titan, like that wouldn't surprise me necessarily either because just the information that the government is privy to
Yeah.
is it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
and now we're slowly starting to figure that out because this is Deanna's first time watching it, and
Mhm.
so we're slowly figuring it out and stuff like that. But there's just a lot of stuff I forgot that happened in season one.
Oh,
That I
yeah.
was just like, man, holy shit, I forgot
Yeah, you
about all this.
remember Levi's squad? Like, you know, I remember this the first time I rewatched it, I was like, "Man, I completely fucking forgot about these characters." And,
Yeah,
like,
they
how
hyped them up too.
yeah,
They
I
had a lot of
know, they're
kills.
so important in the moment. It's, like, so funny, dude. It's so funny to think about in retrospect, but, I'll be honest, season 1 is the best season, in my opinion. I think it's when the show is at its strongest. People were
Okay.
dying left and right, man, and it was fucking just brutality, you know? Like, no
Yeah.
one it felt like no one was safe, you know? And that I think that magic gets lost over time. You know, it happens to any story really, but where the kind of author kind of figures out what characters are important and which ones aren't, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, I think that magic I'll never forget watching that first season and just being like mind blown, you know, by it. Even though I had a big complaint about it, is that it like because I did the same thing you did. I watched season 1 and then I started reading the manga because it was like so far ahead
Yeah.
or whatever. And you read the manga and you're like, oh, this is where it goes, you know. And it's like you're like like I've said before, it turns into a shonen, and it's like god damn it, I didn't think it was this, you know. And the thing is though is like you should have I I should have seen that because of what happens in like episode 4 or 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
um
When Aaron comes back.
yeah, right, when he comes
Yeah.
back, and it's like that specific moment is a humongous giveaway that this show is a shonen, you know. Like if it was the show it was presenting itself as, he would have not come back, you know. It would have just been done. So
Yeah, that episode, because Dion was actually happy he died. She's like, he's annoying as
oh,
fuck. I
he's the
can't.
worst. He never gets better either. He never gets fucking better. He never ever gets better. I hate him. He's a terrible protagonist. I'm taking that to the grave. Okay, Attack on Titan is fantastic, but Eren sucks ass.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah,
I like Mika. Like the now that I'm watching it, I think Mikasa is like a really good fleshed out character.
oh my god, I wish they made her the protagonist in that
I
moment.
I was thinking
Ah,
like when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, I see where they're going with it, I- and I see why I got disappointed. But I like it for what it is. But I thought they were gonna switch like each chapter, like each season, they were gonna switch
yeah.
a main character. So like Aaron is
Mm,
not the main character this season, like he dies off or whatever, and then it's a new main character, and they go out with their stories or something like that. Almost like um I don't know. It's some video game or manga that did that or anime that kind of switched characters and you saw all their different perspectives. It was a book actually. Ender's Game did that. After Ender did his thing, it went off to his best friend Bean, and we saw
yeah.
what Bean was doing. So like I thought that's what, but it was still called Ender's Game. Um, and I kind of thought that's what Attack on Titan was doing. But I mean, it's good for what it is. I mean, uh, the plot, I do remember the plot getting really convoluted
Oh my
around
gosh,
season
dude.
two and a half, three.
Yep. Yep, and it never stops. It gets crazier and crazier, dude. It's
Yeah,
just
so
yeah.
I do remember that, and we're on season two now. So we just got on season two. I think we're on season two part or episode like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, the first half of season 2 is good. I
yeah,
think the is it the back half of season 2 or the first half of season 3? I think the first half of season 3 sucks. I think that's what I'm thinking of. I hate that part of the story,
when was
and
the part where the I mean this is not spoilers if she's listening. So this part where like Levi runs that random bandit squad or whatever, was that season 3?
yeah, that's the first half of season 3. That's what I'm talking
Okay.
about. I fucking hate that arc, dude. It's awful. It is so boring and just like not what the show should needs to be. So, I mean, obviously they're adapting the source material. So my point is the source material, like, just yeah, it went into like it went on a, like a tangent almost, and it was like an annoying tangent that I just was not interested in whatsoever. But I will say the back half of the season like completely like gets you back on track to what you care about, and it's
Yeah,
awesome again. Um, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to the final season, season 4, which supposedly was supposed to come out this year. Obviously, COVID,
yeah.
pushed that away, and there have been trailers for it too. So I think it's coming soon, but I don't really know when, honestly.
I mean, so before we get started, I guess with that, I'll just say rumor that it's pretty much almost confirmed at this point. They only finished half of season
Yeah.
4. It's
Hmm.
going to be 16 episodes, or they're doing the Harry Potter thing where they split out Deathly Hollows into 2 parts.
Oh,
So
okay.
season 4 is going to be, from what
Half
I
of it.
hear, it's going to be 16 episodes, and then in the other half of it is going to be a movie.
No, not a movie. No, I hate it when anime do this. What the fuck, man? Ah, dude, no, please, God, no. Man,
I heard that's what it's going to be. So it
dude, Fate did this shit too, because Fate's Stay Night, right, is this like really popular series, right? But it's a story that has 3 different routes to it, quote unquote, and it was a visual novel that was like a video game-ish thing, and you could pick which route you go down, whatever.
yeah.
But they've adapted 2 of the routes, and they were adapted as single season anime, And the third route, they've been adapting it for years now as 3 movies. And I'm just like, fucking why? It's like, because I don't even think the third one's out yet. I don't even know if the second one's out yet. It's so irritating to me because I'm like, I could have gotten this as a single season of television that aired like 4 years ago, but I've been waiting 5 years for this story to come out, and it's so irritating to me. So to hear that for Attack on Titan is super frustrating because I know there's a lot of material left they have to get through actually, for where they are in the story. I'm pretty sure like they're not even they might be 3/4 of the way through the manga story, or it might even be less than that. I'm not even sure. It might be 70% or 65%. So there's a lot of story they got to shove into whatever's left of the show. So man, that's frustrating. I hope you're wrong. I hope that's not.
Yeah, I hope
I
I'm
hope,
wrong too,
I
but
hope that
I don't
rumor's
know, man.
fake. I hope that's
Attack on
fake
Titan's
news.
pretty popular, so they may actually do that. So
Oh, man, that would be so disappointing. But whatever the case, I'll watch it, whatever it is. So, well, Montrell, is there anything else going on in your life you want to talk about before we get started?
nope, that's pretty much it.
All right, guys. So, this is not an anime podcast, but sometimes we do deviate into off topic discussions at the front of the show. But this show is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Let us get started, like we always do, with the games we've been playing. Montreal, do you want to go first this week?
Yeah, I've been playing Destiny 2 a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield 5 still a little bit. I'm really still enjoying both of those games. I play them in like bite-sized chunks. I don't really play them like heavy. I don't do the sessions I may do are like an hour or two. That's it. And then I beat Spider-Man
Yeah.
Remastered, and I'm doing a replay of Miles Morales because I just need to get that one trophy to get my first
Man, you
platinum.
getting that platinum? Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you, man. Oh, I'm proud of you.
So yeah, that's it.
All right, fair enough. We are going to talk about Spider-Man later in the show. I have also beaten Miles Morales this past week. Um, so we'll be doing a spoiler discussion on that. We don't want to do a spoiler cast for it. I just the game's not big enough really to warrant it. So we're just gonna kind of shove it in the end of this show here, and we'll let you guys know when that happens, so you can dip out if you don't want to hear the spoilers. Otherwise, I've been still playing Genshin Impact. Not much to say there. World of Warcraft as well. I do want to just say real quick that I am like I like Shadowlands so far. I can't say I don't like it, but I will say there's kind of a piece of the design of it that I'm not digging, and it's kind of making me not want to play that much. Is that it is fucking super linear for an MMO. Like you can't do anything that you want to do. Like the leveling experience is so railroaded. Like you can't go explore. Like basically, this is what happens. You get dropped. They send you through a portal. You know, at the beginning of the expansion, and you get in there and you do a few quests in this one zone, and then they send you to the basically the main city of this expansion. You know, you meet some characters, whatever, exposition dialogue, blah blah blah. Then they send you to your first zone, and you basically get shepherded through that entire zone for the entirety of the that zone story, and you get very little chance to explore on your own. Like if you're following that story, like they'll send you to a quest hub, and there will be 3 or 4 quests you can do that aren't part of the story quests. If you want to do them, you don't have to do them. But then eventually you'll get to a point like you'll finish the story, and it's like then it shepherds you to the next zone, and you can't access that zone until you finish the story quest for the previous zone. And I think all 4 zones are like that basically. And that is such an antithesis to general MMO design that it's kind of annoying to me. Honestly, I mean, it makes sense within the story why it's like that. But at the same time, it's like, man, even within a zone, dude, like I don't feel like I can go quest, you know, even though I guess I kind of can, but it's like there's not really a point to it. Like doing anything outside of the main story quest is purposeless for the most part. Like you're not getting experience that you need really because there's so much experience in questing in the main story quest that you will get to 60 easily just by doing that. So all the other quests they give you are kind of extraneous and not really worth doing, you know, which is kind of disappointing because it's like what's even the point of having them there, you know? And frankly, the first zone, I discovered about 2/3 of it through the story quest, and the other third is like, you know, kind of grayed out to me right now. I can go there if I want, but it's like that kind of gets back to my point though. What's the point? Because from what I've heard from people who already hit 60, you literally have to finish the main story narrative quest in Shadowlands in order to gain access to the end game in Shadowlands at all. So there's like no point in even deviating from the main story path because you want to get through that as fast as possible so that you can start doing the end game grind of dungeons and gearing and all that stuff. And it's like it's kind of putting me off from playing it honestly because I'm like I want to play, but I don't know, man. Like I just like it's not like I was talking about. I was comparing it to Final Fantasy 14, and it is like that game in terms of presentation, but Final Fantasy 14 though didn't do this, and maybe some
Yeah,
of the
they
newer
don't.
expansions have, but they
They
don't
don't.
railroad you like
No, they don't restrict you. You can still go off and do side missions and stuff like that.
right, and you have to. You can't
Yeah,
level to the
yeah.
level cap in that game just off the main story quest. WoW at this point is basically complete opposite. You like do the main story quest, and that gets you to 60. And
Really?
it's not, yeah, I mean, for the most part, like I'm not sure if you ignored everything that wasn't a main story quest, if you would actually hit the level cap by the time you got to. I don't know because I've been doing the side content that's been around me as I'm going, but I am already over leveled. Like I'm in the second zone and I'm halfway to the level cap already, dude. I'm 55. And I just started the second zone. So, and there's 3 zones to go. You know, so I'm just like I'm gonna be 60 in the third zone probably, you know, and I'm gonna have to do the whole fourth zone at the level cap, you know, and it's like that's I don't know. So it's kind of frustrating in that regard because what it does for me is that subsequent characters, if I decide to make an alt or something like that, the leveling experience is going to suck ass for those characters because I'm going to literally have to repeat content, you know, in order to level them. Like every character I make is going to have to go through the Shadowlands storyline. There's no way to avoid it. Like you have to do it. Ooh, sorry. Just hit my mic. I have a mic arm now, guys. I'm not used to this. I'm like, you know, flailing my arms like fucking crazy person over here. But So yeah, it's kind of frustrating in that regard. I'm not like off the game. I'm not gonna put it down, but I did kind of take a break from it for the last few days. I don't think I played in a week, to be honest, because I was playing other stuff. But I'm gonna get back to it. But I'm just like, I'm like, man, it's just come on, man. Like when I play an MMO, I want to be able to do what I want, you know.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It is what it is. I mean that's kind of what World of Warcraft is at this point. I did do a dungeon though with Andy and his brother, and
yeah.
it was it was fun. I like they were kind of going super fast though, and I was just like, man, I am not shit. I'm so out of practice with this. Like, you
Man,
know,
it's the same way with that's why I don't tank anymore in Final Fantasy 14 because people have replayed through the game so many times that people just steamroll through dungeons now and I'm like, I'm
hmm
the tank. I don't know where to go and
yeah,
so
I don't know
now
the
I just
mechanics of this fight.
yeah,
Like, oh, should I be attacking this enemy or does it matter if I interrupt his spells? Like, I don't
I
know.
think that's the thing with I don't know if in the future that MMOs can do. Maybe they need to take a survey or something like that. But I think that's my biggest gripe with all MMOs, not just Final Fantasy or whatever. I think even with games like Pantheon, this is going to be an issue. Or if EverQuest was popular, this would be an issue as well. That people just steamroll through dungeons. They know the quickest routes, the most optimal routes, and everything like that. Whereas like with people like me or you, or people who come back, or if they're new, we want to kind of experience the dungeon fresh. I know I
Right.
do, and
Yeah,
I can't do that.
I want to take in the story too.
Yeah, and I can't do
And
that because
yeah,
everyone's like steamrolling through it. So there should be like a dungeon queue for like, is this your first time playing through it, or
or
this is your
casual.
yeah casual or something of that nature? To whereas or maybe they put you in the queue. The game keeps track of it, and they like, okay, you already played through this, so we're gonna put you in the queue where people already played through it, or you didn't already play through this one, so we're gonna put you in the queue with a lot of first timers as well, so that you guys can take in everything. Um,
Well, a solution to this, for me too, would be just make the first run of the instance like a story quest that's a solo dungeon, you know, or
oh,
just make
okay,
a solo version of the dungeon. Period.
yeah.
And obviously you can make the gear drop shittier than the group version, but to me that seems like an easy solution because then I could take it at my pace. I could really explore the zone, and it's like because the way we did it in like 20 minutes or 15 minutes even, and it was like I have no fucking clue what the fuck happened in that dungeon. I don't remember any of the NPCs. I have no idea what they said. I don't know what the crux of the narrative was within that dungeon because we were going so fast. It was like I didn't. I just yeah. So I don't. I like. I think that's something with a veteran player base that I think is an issue for some of these games. And like you said, it's an issue for all of them. Not this isn't just World of Warcraft exclusive. I'm sure this is true in Destiny as well, and other games as well. But yeah, it's like I'm coming back and I'm kind of trying. I want to smell the roses. Like I'm playing this game slow. Like I want to take the scenic route. I really want to like live in the world and like do that. And the thing is, the rest of these players, the veteran players, they don't give a shit, dude. They're just running from spot to spot to spot to spot to spot, and it doesn't matter that it's new content. Like they just want to get to the gear grind. That's what World of Warcraft is for them, and it's like that is a fun element of the game for me. But I like the story so far, and I kind of want to like experience it. So I don't know. It's just it's a little bit of a kind of roadblock, I guess, in my experience with it. But I'll update you guys if I play some more. I also, after I beat Miles Morales, I got back into Crosscode. This is like the fifth fucking time I've done this with this game, where I put it down for like a month, and I'm back now. I'm endeavoring to beat this game this time. Okay, I finished the final dungeon last night. Well, not the final dungeon, the second to last dungeon last night. I finished. I got to a point in the story that it feels like I'm approaching kind of the end game, like the end of the game. And I'm hoping I only have a few more hours to go because I was really forcing myself to play this game last night. I did get to a point where I was having fun again, but when I jumped back in initially, like that, I jumped right into the dungeon. And like I said before, this game is really taxing mentally. and I didn't remember all the mechanics of the game. So I was kind of fumbling through the first few rooms of the dungeon, and it was kind of irritating, to say the least. But eventually, I did get to a point where I started to figure things out again. I was having fun. Got through the dungeon. So I'm hoping to finish this game within the next couple days. I really want to get this game off my plate because it's just been like kind of niggling in the back of my mind for like months, you know? Every time I put it down, I know I've put it down and I'm like, I know I want to go back and play this, but it just keeps happening this way where I play this game for a couple days and I get through a lot too. Like I make a shitload of progress, you know? But then another game comes out that jumps in front of it or like gets my attention or whatever. So I'm really gonna beat this game this time. I really am. I'm hoping. I hope so. Because if I don't, I'm gonna lose my mind. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I guess Montrell. Let's jump into the news, shall we?
All right.
Um, so we only got a few stories this week. We're gonna start with a lighthearted one though to start. Somewhat lighthearted, I guess. So this one's kind of weird to explain, I guess. So you all, those of you who are old enough, anyone in their late 20s, early 30s, probably grew up during the time period where Pokemon cards were a thing. I still have mine. Montreal, do you have yours? Did you ever have Pokemon cards?
Yeah, I still have mine. They're at my
Oof,
grandma's house.
you do? Oh,
Yeah.
dude, do you have a Charizard?
Yeah, I have a binder. I have the Pokemon binder
I
for
do
all the
too.
little
Oh my gosh. Oh man, we got to show
uh,
each other our cards sometime.
yeah, once the pandemic is over, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm going back to Detroit to get my cards. I have a first edition holographic Charizard.
You motherfucker, you serious, dude?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy. Do you have it? Do you have it like well protected? Is it in good condition?
Yeah, it's in the plastic wrap. All of
Are
them
you
are in plastic
serious?
wrap. Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! You might have some money on your hands, bro. Like those are. I mean, dude, have you been paying attention to this? This is a craze right now, dude. Like
I
people are crazy for Pokemon cards.
My mom actually called me the other day and was like, "Hey, do you still have your Pokemon cards?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And she's like, "Where are they at?" I'm like, "At my grandma's house." And then she was like, "Do you have the first edition Charizard?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Wow, do you know how much that thing is worth?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Yeah, it's worth $2,500." And I'm like,
Might even
"What?"
be more than that, dude. It might be more than that, depending on the condition of it. And frankly, you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but if you have a shadowless first edition Charizard, that one, you will quit your job if you have that one.
That's the printed error one, right? That's the one that had
Yes, the
okay.
first. It was the very first print run. They only did it once, I think. And the font on the HP is a little bit different than the subsequent ones. Like it's not bolded the way it usually is.
Okay.
And there's no shadow around the border of the Pokemon's image, like the art for the Pokemon. So those ones are worth more than normal, because they were only made once. Like there was only one run, and once they changed it, that was it. They never made that mistake again. So those cards are very very valuable. So if you have one of those, Montreal, man, I
I
may never see
do.
you again.
I don't know if I have that one, but my cousin, he actually had the Japanese one. He had the first edition Japanese Charizard holographic. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if he may have that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I used to get a lot of my cards from him. And I also have, according to her, the Mew card, the ancient Mew card that you got
Yes.
from the first Pokemon movie. That's
Yep.
worth some money too.
There's a
And I
lot of them
still
that
have
are worth money, dude. So my brother-in-law actually came over like a week and a half ago, because he has a huge collection of Pokemon cards and he's like getting them
a
together,
bunch of
and
fucking
like
nerds.
he's trying to figure out like what he can sell them for or who he can sell them to. And he showed me a bunch of his cards and I showed him my cards. He has way more than I do. But dude, he has like multiple copies of almost every holo of like all, like he has, I think he had multiple Charizards, he had multiple Blastoises. I only have one of each, and unfortunately my Charizard is not in the best condition. Like it's okay, like it, but there's some kind of bending in the back of the card that, so I could probably only get a couple hundred for it if I'm lucky. But if you have any of the promos, some of the promo cards, like that Ancient Mew, and then even the regular promo Mew, if you have the Holo version of it,
I think I
that's worth
do.
some money. Yeah, that's worth some money. There's a couple Mewtwo's that are worth some money. The gold the legendary birds are also worth some money potentially, if you have them in good condition. So, I mean, the thing is, depending on your collection, you could have a few $1,000s on your hands, depending if you can find a buyer.
Wow.
People are crazy, dude. This is a craze right now because the 25th anniversary of the franchise is coming up.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
In February. So you need to strike while the iron's hot, man. You need to get off this podcast, call grandma and be like, "Hey, can you find my Pokemon cards and mail that shit to me?" Cuz yeah,
No,
you
I
need to
know
strike
exactly
now.
where they're at. She called me and asked me about them a couple of months ago,
Yeah,
and
however bubble wrap them, shrink wrap
yeah,
that binder, bubble wrap it, put it in a box, send it to you, man.
yeah.
You need to do that because I'm thinking about selling mine, but my collection's not like I think if I'm lucky, I could probably get like 750 to 1,000 for what I have.
I mean, that's what I'm
So
thinking for mine, but I gotta look. I
dude, if you
think
have a first edition Charizard, you need to put that one aside. Because that one you need to get graded and find out what it's actually worth. Because that one on its own could be worth like a few thousand, depending on the quality.
okay.
So yeah, I mean, hey man, if you get them and you let us know on the show. I'm sure the people would love to hear your Pokemon card collection. What you got. Because yeah, I have most of the Pokemon. I think I had every card except for Ninetales. The thing is, though, I don't have first editions of a lot of them, and I also don't have holos of a lot of them, unfortunately. So that's kind of where my collection takes a bit of a hit.
Okay.
And some of the ones I have are that, like, you remember that second print run they did that had like the 2 on it with the Pokeball or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yeah, what happened with that print run? Is it worth the money?
Those are the quote second edition of the original Pokemon card run of those cards. So those aren't worth shit. No one wants those.
Oh,
So I have a few of those too, unfortunately, and that it kind of sucks. So it is what it is. But there's some good cards. If you have Alakazam, he's worth some money too.
oh, I think I do actually.
Um, Gengar maybe. Gyarados if you have them.
I think I have Gyarados. I don't know about Gengar. I know.
Articuno, Zapdos, they're worth some, definitely.
I
If you
gotta
have
check. Have
Hollow first editions are what you're looking for, though, for the most part. Those are the
okay.
big boys. Those are the big boys, the ones that are worth money. Now, I will say too, if you have any other cards though that have errors on them, because my brother-in-law actually had a Pikachu that had a misprint on the first edition stamp. Those might be worth extra, like because the people for some reason people really like those fuck ups. Like they're special, they're unique kind of things. So if you have anything like that too, put those aside as well. I'd say
Okay.
so. But yeah. So back to our story, which kicked this whole thing off. So there's a man named Yuri Geller. He is a magician. You may know his name. He's a famous magician from way back in the day. He's the guy who bent the spoon or whatever. He had the bend the spoon trick, which is what Kadabra, the Pokemon, is based off of. So this guy back in the day, he heard about this and was super pissed, right? He was like, he told Nintendo to stop printing those cards because, this is his thing, the bending the spoon thing. But recently, he has apologized for his behavior of 20 years ago. So, quote here: "I am truly sorry for what I did 20 years ago. Kids and grown-ups, I am releasing. Kids and grown-ups, I am releasing the ban. It's now all up to Nintendo to bring my Kadabra Pokemon card back. It will probably be one of the rarest cards now. Much energy and love to all." Yeah, they're not reprinting these cards, man. That's not how this works. They'll make new versions of Kadabra, which I'm sure they've done a million times actually now. But
I don't think they printed out any Kadabras. From what I was reading in the Pokemon community, like that
really,
card was that card they stopped it because at the time Pokemon wasn't that big and they didn't want a lawsuit in their hands, so they
mm,
stopped it. And I think it just kind of progressed as like a thing.
it was just a taboo. They were just like, you know what, we're not making any Kadabras. So they've made Abras and Alakazams, but not Kadabras.
From what I understand, yeah,
That's crazy, dude.
It's been 20 years since like they've been printing Kadabras, and now they can finally print them again.
That's interesting. Well, joke's on this guy though, because Pokemon, it's not just a kid series, man. I mean, he does say that actually, kids and grown-ups. So, you
Yeah.
know, but it's it's not like, oh, pitiful Nintendo, like, oh god, how are they going to make money because they can't sell Alakazam cards? Like, it's a
Dude,
billion
Nintendo
dollar
franchise,
franchise,
dude,
man.
they're opening up a fucking amusement park. They are literally trying to become the Disney. Someone in their ranks now finally realized they're Disney of video games and they're about to capitalize on it.
Yep.
So
Oh yeah, we're gonna get card games. We should be getting card games with like all their franchises, like a Mario trading card game and like a. Can you imagine?
well, bro, I think
uh,
I say in the next 10 years, Disney is gonna be fighting with Nintendo as far as like popularity and stuff.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I could see it. I could see it. I mean, they're very powerful within the gaming space. They have a lot of pull,
Yeah.
even outside of the gaming space. Like that's the thing. That's where Nintendo's appeal is. Is like everyone knows Nintendo. You know,
Exactly. Like everyone knows who Mickey Mouse is. Everyone knows who Mario is. So
you say Xbox, bet you there's a ton of people who are like, "What the fuck? What Xbox? What are you talking about?" But they probably know Nintendo.
yeah.
So yeah, well, you know what, Nintendo, congratulations, you can print Kadabra cards again, even though Kadabra sucks. Like he's not really a cool Pokemon. Like Alakazam's where it's at, man. And Abra's like cute and tiny, so these like middle evolutions sometimes are really hit or miss.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't really. I'm trying to think of a good mid-level evolution.
I'd say like Quilava, the Gen 2 Fire Starter. So
Yeah,
Cyndaquil, Quilava, and then Typhlosion. I thought Quilava always had a cool look to him, but honestly, they usually kind of suck.
you
Like
know what?
even like Charmeleon, I
Haunter
mean,
looks
whatever.
good. I like Haunter more than Gengar.
Haunter's cool. Haunter is
Yeah,
cool.
I like him
You
more than Gengar.
know, I think I like Gengar more personally, but I do like Haunter. He's cool, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
So
the only one I can.
Dragonair is pretty cool, actually. I like Dragonair's design.
I hate the whole dragon line. I think they don't look like dragons. They look like fairies. They should be a
Yeah.
fairy type to me. They do not look
Yeah.
like dragons. The
Fair
simple
enough.
fact that Charizard lost in Dragonite in the game in the actual show pisses me off. So
Hey man, I mean Dragonair was powerful, dude. Get
he
fucked
looks
up.
he looks like a character off of Dragon Tales, if you remember that show.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, let's move on. Enough talk. Enough Pokemon talk. Let's get to the real shit. All right, the real gaming talk here. So there was an article that came out from Vice. Actually, this was yesterday. This was a very very interesting read. So some Vice got a hold of some internal Sony documents. That kind of go over their view of the whole single player versus multiplayer debate. And Sony has internal kind of statistics, and also they've done a lot of surveys with players and stuff like that that kind of indicate that single player is actually thriving at the moment. Which I think if you listen to us, we would have told you that. Like, I mean, we like the whole idea of single player is dead is such a like joke to me at this point. There's plenty of people that want to play single player games, but the fact that Sony has data to back it up now, that's very interesting. So now they're kind of what they were thinking with this. They got some feedback from players, and these are four kind of key things that they took away from their feedback they got. So number one is, you know, players don't know how long they might need to finish something like in a game, so they don't play unless they have 2 or more hours of free time. Uh, the second one is it takes a lot of time to scan through long help videos when they're stuck, which I mean that is true. I've had to do that before. Crosscode being a perfect example. Um, Number three is how do you engage socially without risking spoilers, which that is a very key one as well. I'm glad that they acknowledge that because that is a huge problem with gaming. Frankly, media culture in general, in my opinion. So that's a big one. And then the fourth one is, it's been a little while since you played. I forgot what I was doing in this game last time. It's hard to get back into it, which, I can attest with
Yeah.
Crosscode, right? So those are four key points that they kind of focused on in this document that Vice got a hold of. And this kind of the presentation that they looked at kind of went into more about what the design of like things they're doing on PS5 and what they want to do on PS5, and it kind of explains some of the features that we've gotten on this console now on this interface. So like the game help, the game help, the quick kind of resume stuff that they're doing, or not the quick resume, the kind of like picking activities in a game and jumping straight into that activity, which Spider-Man Miles Morales takes advantage of. You can kind of pick a mission and just jump right into it, and you don't have to like go through the whole map. It tells you how long the mission is and all that stuff too, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Sony's plan, is they want to cater their games and experiences towards that, towards people. They realize who their demographic is, right? They're people who are a little bit older. They have more responsibilities now. They don't have as much time to game as they want. So they want to make that time as valuable as possible. They want you to be able to jump into the game you want, the part of the game you want to jump into immediately. Like no frills, no bullshit, no title screens, none of that stuff. So what do you think about that, Montrell?
Uh, yeah. Remember that executive that said 10 years ago that single player games are dying? Yeah, you can suck my balls. Uh,
Well, I
uh,
don't think he's in gaming anymore, so
yeah, good because I think I think this is data that everyone should look at, not just Sony. I'm glad Sony
yeah,
actually. I'm glad this got leaked because I think everyone's going to start looking at this. I think Xbox is going to look at this, um, which is oddly enough, Phil Spencer had a little tweet talking about how much he enjoys the PlayStation, which I think is really cool. He's playing PlayStation as well. Um, so I think they're looking at this. I think other companies like I don't know. I doubt Activision looking at this shit, but I think EA is going to look at this as well. Um,
I mean, hey man, Activision actually, to their credit, they've been making more single player games recently. So
but you know what? The Crash Bandicoot thing that was pretty
yeah,
good.
right.
Uh,
Spyro.
and Tony Hawk, that's pretty
Yep.
good. So,
Yep.
and they've been doing a little bit more effort on their Call of Duty campaigns. I give them credit for that. Um, but I think it's pretty cool. Especially you can tell in Miles Morales they have the story so far thing, which has been a thing for a while. I remember seeing the story so far option way back in PS1 on the Tomb Raider 1. Uh Yeah,
Yeah.
that game was incredibly long for some reason. For it to be that old, I still remember that game in about 20 hours, I think. Maybe 15, 20 hours. It was long
Yeah.
for the time. And that had a story so far part when you're selecting the levels and stuff like that. So I like that because that's my biggest issue. Sometimes I will take breaks from single player games
Yep.
and not play them for a while and then come back and I'm like, oh fuck, what am I supposed to be doing? Like I'm just dropping and I just started the whole thing over again. 'Cause, I did that with
Yeah.
The Witcher.
Yeah.
I just started the entire thing over, not just now,
Oh,
but
yeah.
when I did
Yeah,
it
but
my
that
second playthrough.
sucks though. That's a lot of time, dude. You know.
Yeah. Um, and the other point that really sticks out to me is if I don't have 2 or more hours, I will not play the game. That is me. If I don't
That's
have
so
2
true, dude. So true. Like we'll finish these podcasts sometimes at like 10:30, and I'll just be like, ah, fuck. You know, it's like I gotta go to bed in like 2 hours. Like fuck, I don't. I'm just gonna watch like YouTube or something, you know? And that's
Exactly,
what
yeah.
happens. It happens so much. And we'll talk about this more later, but like being able to just like honestly turn my PlayStation on and be in a game within 20 seconds is such a quality of life improvement that it's not even funny, dude. Because like I think it's kind of underestimated, I think, for some people how much that matters, because to me, like that there was a mental hurdle there where we like, you know, back when we were playing Monster Hunter Iceborne or whatever last
Oh
year,
my
you know,
god.
there were times where like I'd get home and I'm like, man, God, it's gonna take 15 minutes before I even get into a quest. It might even be longer than that, you know. Because you know, you gotta go pick up all the bullshit or whatever. The game's gotta fucking load and like, you know, all this stuff. Then the quest has to load, and it's just, dude,
Yeah,
it's just
half of
like,
that would be just questing. Like,
oh
if
my
I was
god,
able
yeah.
to get my gear ready and just jump in, then cool. I think that's another thing, like, with Sekiro, that's the biggest mental hurdle for me was the loading screen. I haven't tried Sekiro. I might just rebuy it on a PS4.
Well, because you
Um,
die so much, right? It's
yeah,
like
you die so
you get
much,
to
and
load
then
every time.
the loading screen is fucking obnoxiously long. Like it is really long, especially like when you're dying a lot. You're already frustrated, and then that loading screen pops in,
Hmm.
and you don't forget all the moves, but you just like, I gotta remember he does this, he does that, and I don't know. The loading screen kind of, for especially for Sekiro, kind of kills your adrenaline because you
Yeah.
if you're able to load back in, like your adrenaline's still pumping, you still have everything memorized, and you can just go. That loading screen is like a cooldown period, and sometimes you may need that, but most of the time I don't want that shit. I want to go right back in. So,
Right.
uh, yeah, that loading screen thing is a huge help. I think that actually helped me beat both these games so fast because the loading is just really fucking quick.
Well, dude, yeah, it's something that like so PlayStation 5 doesn't have the quick resume feature that the Xbox Series X has.
Hmm.
So you can't like suspend a game and then start another game and then like go back to the first game like really quickly. It closes like if you start another game, it closes the game you're currently playing. So you can't
Yeah.
have multiple games going at once at the moment, and they need to implement that very soon. Like I'm really hoping within the first 6 months we have that as a feature because I am so like jealous of that because I was jumping back and forth between Genshin Impact, Crosscode, and Miles Morales this weekend, and I wanted to just keep all three of them open and like just switch between them when I felt like playing one of them, whichever one I felt like playing. And it's not like it's a huge inconvenience, but there is that element of you have to go through the start menu and pick your save and all that stuff, and there is a bit of loading in there. It's not like a huge inconvenience, but if I could literally suspend my game, start another game, and then whenever I feel like it, go back to the first game and immediately pick up right where I left off, like that is a huge quality of life thing. And Xbox has that. Xbox Series X has that. So I'm hoping that we get that on PlayStation 5 soon because that feature is kind of important to what they're talking about here in this document that Vice was talking about here. It's like they want like convenience is really important to them. They want to maximize your playing time. They don't want you in the interface. They don't want you on loading screens. Like that stuff takes away from the experience, and they want to get you out of all of it. So given that a feature like quick resume would be very important for that. So I hope they're prioritizing that. But it's nice to see though that they are um doubling down on their investment in single player. I'm very happy to see that because they've seen extreme success during the PS4 generation with that,
Yeah.
and they honestly at this point are second to none with the single player games, in my opinion. Like they don't miss pretty much.
No, you're right. Even the ones I really don't like, they're still a hit in my opinion. I think the
Yeah,
only person that's really tied with them is Nintendo. Um, as
yeah,
far
but
as like,
even Nintendo is hit and miss sometimes.
yeah,
They're not
that's
all.
true. That's true.
Like Mario Odyssey was like that game was hot and cold depending on who you were. Like I don't like Mario Odyssey. I think that game's frankly I think that game's bad. Like I don't think it's a good game. So
And yeah, and the same way you feel about Mario Odyssey is the same way I feel about Breath of the Wild. It's like
mhm.
that's a hit or miss. For me, it's a hit. I mean, it's a miss, but for other people, it's like a huge hit, and I respect it and I can see it. But with with PlayStation games, like it's usually 90% chance it's a unanimous decision. Like this is a fucking hit. Like this shit slaps. I think the only game that kind of went under radar for me and you was Days Gone. We both didn't
Yeah,
play that one.
right. But that
But
game was still a commercial success.
yeah, exactly. So, um, I mean, I can't complain about it. I mean, the data speaks for itself, and then even if you add multiplayer to it, it doesn't take away. I think Uncharted and Last of Us is a huge example of that because both those games had very good or very the population for their multiplayer was very high actually for
Yep,
Last of Us and
for a
Uncharted
long time.
for a long
Yep.
time. Um, so I'm glad even the Ghost of Tsushima people are still playing that multiplayer.
Well, that was a free add-on that came out after the game came out, and it was like super robust too. Like
Yeah.
way more than anybody expected. So like that's kind of my point. Even like when they do multiplayer, they do it well. That I think that's Sony's brand at this point with their worldwide studios is just quality, straight up. Like they make good games. And that's very important, obviously for them. But I'm just happy to see that the data is also telling them that they're doing the
Yeah.
right thing. because I don't want Sony to change. I don't want their trajectory with that stuff to change because I like their games a lot, personally. So
Well, I think this also speaks to like the different types of multiplayer games we're going to start getting. And because honestly, this generation or last generation or whatever generation we call it, we had two different games come out. We had The Last of Us come out, and then we had Ghost of Tsushima come out. One's a open world action game. Another one's like a level based action game. Um, Still had great stories and still sold really well, and I like that because sometimes I don't want an open world experience. I want a linear experience. Sometimes I don't want a linear experience. I want an open world experience. And I think the trend that single player games are going for, which I really fucking hated, is everything in their mama was going open world, and no
ugh,
one.
yeah,
I despise open world games. Like I can't stand them. Only reason I like Spider-Man is because it's fucking Spider-Man. I like Ghost of Tsushima because it's
that game
different.
is extremely good.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
game is extremely good and different in what you do.
yeah.
I hate the GTAs, the fucking Red Dead Redemptions. Even though those have great stories, I have to trek all the way across the map to get it, and it's just like it's so many nodes, and it's just
Or like Assassin's Creed or
oh my
whatever.
god, that's the most egregious one. I
Right.
still haven't, even though I heard the new Assassin's Creed is really good.
I'm hearing that it's gotten mixed reception though. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely a fatigue with open worlds, and honestly, we're going to talk about this later with Spider-Man. Is that I hope that game is a blueprint for others. That like more does not mean better. Like sometimes a bite-sized game, like a 10 or 15 hour experience, that's all we need. And maybe that's where the game industry needs to go with some of these games. Like is that I don't want I don't want an 150-hour experience with every game that I play. I don't have time for that. I want to experience your game to its fullest, but I'm not going to do that when you have more content than I could do in 2 weeks,
yeah.
of playing your game. Like or even a month of playing your game. 150-hour game for me takes me a month to a month and a half to probably beat, and to
Well,
beat it fully.
I'm
And
pretty
that's
sure
insane.
their surveys are like older people, and they realize like a lot of gamers are getting older and stuff like that, and we just don't have the time to play. Like I love The Witcher and I love Mass Effect. I think The Witcher's more egregious than Mass Effect is, but I don't have 150 hours to play this game. Like they experience all this story content that you put in the game. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I love it. I love that every part of it that's 150 hours is voice acted. Love it. I just don't have the time. I'm sorry. You gotta kind of break it out a little bit better than that, buddy. Like, so
Yeah, I mean, yeah, The Witcher is a weird game because, like, yeah, I've criticized it on this show before for being too large, and as much as like it's like the weirdest criticism though because every part of that game is high quality. It's not. I'm not saying that it's like too much because it's bad. It's literally too much, straight up, just too much. And at,
that
at a
sounds so
certain
bad.
point, yeah, but at a certain point, dude, it's just like I like, man, fuck. I want to play other games. Like I think a lot of gamers are variety gamers. They want to play a lot of different games, and there's a lot of gamers out there that play the same game all the time. They play Destiny, they play Call of Duty, they play Madden, they play NBA, whatever. Those people, they kind of are. They're in their own space, right? But I think there's a large group of the core gaming audience that wants to play as many games as possible,
Yep.
and I can't do that if every one of your games is 100 hours. Okay, guys, like I can't do that. So, um, like and it sounds stupid to say because if I'm truly like a game is like transcendently good, right? Like I'm thinking like Xenoblade Chronicles or something like that. Like I'm enjoying every second of that 100 hours. Like I'm fucking loving it, right? But even that game, I
Yeah, I was
beat
about to
it,
say that game
dude.
is large.
I beat it, and I'm sitting there like literally right before the final boss, like thinking to myself, like, okay, after I beat this boss, I'm gonna go do all the post game content, and then I'm gonna go do the epilogue thing that they add to the game. And guess what? It's been 6 or 7 months since that game came out. I haven't touched any of that shit. I put it down and I haven't picked it back up because you know what? I finished the story and I was done with it. Like I can't. I don't want to play. Can't play the game for a million fucking years. You know,
Yeah.
like
I think
there's
that's
other
why.
games I got to move on to. So,
Yeah, I think that's why games like Final Fantasy VII Remake was like
oh,
that was a
what a
perfect bite size.
breath of fresh air. Yeah,
Yeah.
what a breath of fresh air that game was. You know.
So I don't know, man, but hopefully this data can collect all that and it reflects in their games. I
Right.
just want I guess I just want that like just give me an expectation. Like this is a realistic expectation. This is a 100-hour game. And then I can wrap my mind around, okay, I might not buy that now, but I will buy it later, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just talking shit at this point.
Well, because you know how the game tells you, like Spider-Man tells you how long a mission's gonna take. I
Yeah.
mean, you can totally add all that up and then guesstimate the side activities, and all of a sudden you've got the game's length. How
Yeah.
long does this game take to 100%? And you can put that in the interface, and maybe like developers would think that's a bad thing, but to me, like that makes your game like I can plan out how I'm going to play your game. If I know how many hours it's going to take, I know how many hours I have of free time every week. And like I can figure out how long it will take me to beat your game.
Yeah.
And what I want to prioritize within the game. So I don't know. I think that's very appealing, but we'll see. We'll see how this generation kind of, I guess, falls out with all this stuff because I do think there's going to be some changes with this. I think the large size of games like because I saw Skillup's review of Assassin's Creed and his biggest complaint of that game was that Ubisoft literally said the game was shorter than Odyssey, and then it wasn't shorter than Odyssey. And he was just like, "What the fuck? Like, I don't want to play your game for 70 hours. Like, I don't want to be forced to play your game for 70 hours. Like, if you can make the main story quest only take 30 hours and there's 100 hours of content, great. Maybe I'll just do the 30 hours." But he was saying that Valhalla, he had to play for 70 hours to beat the game, and he was just like, by the end of the game, he just fucking didn't care anymore. Like he hated everything about the game. He fucking hated the combat. He hated the story. He hated the characters. He hated the world. He fucking hated all of it. Like, and that's kind of my point about even something like The Witcher, right? Is that too much of a good thing eventually sours you on whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just reality of being a human. Like I'm sure it's happened to all of us before with something, you do too much of something and you start to not like it anymore,
Yeah.
you know? So hopefully devs start to realize that because that's the frustrating thing is like they're charging us $70 for games, and I think they're going to feel even more like inclined to want to fill that, make it worth it.
No,
But
just give me a quality. I don't know. If I get 8 hours of a game, right? I mean, that's pretty short, but just working
yeah,
with me. If I get 8 hours of a game, but in that 8 hours, it was like the best 8 hours of my fucking life. I'm like, holy shit, this is some good shit right here. I probably wouldn't even think about that $70. I mean,
or
that's pretty short. Or if it's like $50 or something like that, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's 8 hour experience. Like, yeah, give me a quality experience, and then sprinkle some little side activities there to kind of teeter it out after I get done with the main game. If I want to come back and play it, then that's cool.
Yeah, and maybe do what Miles Morales did, charge us 50 for it instead of 70,
Yeah.
and it takes you 2 years to make instead of 5.
Yep.
Okay, that actually sounds profitable to me. But that's just me. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, though, when we do talk about Miles Morales in depth. So let us move on to our next story. So Phil Spencer did an interview earlier, or last week rather, with The Verge, and he said some interesting things about Game Pass. He kind of detailed. He didn't like give specifics, but he kind of talked about how developers make money off of Game Pass, and he said some interesting quotes. So I'm going to read off a few quotes here. So, quote, in certain cases, we'll pay for the full production cost of the game. Then they get all the retail opportunity on top of Game Pass. They can go sell it on PlayStation, on Steam, on Xbox, on Switch. Sometimes developers more done with the game, and it's just a transaction of, hey, we'll put it in Game Pass if you'll pay us this amount of money. Others want agreements more based on usage and monetization. In whether it's a store monetization that gets created through transactions or usage, we're open to experimenting with many different partners because we don't think we have it figured out. When we started, we had a model that was all based on usage. Most of the partners said, yeah, we understand that, but we don't believe it. So we just give us the money up front. My hope is we will get there and maybe not 100%, maybe some hybrid model, which I think could work. We already have a rev share relationship with most of the content creators because we have a store. I'm hoping we can get to a model where we see the upside, they see upside. There's some downside risks that we can help cover, which gives us certain capability with the content, but also helps them go do some things that maybe they couldn't get greenlit on a pure retail model. That's the thing that's been heartwarming to me as somebody who's been building games for so long, is to see games come to the service that wouldn't have been built without it. So blah blah blah. He kind of trails off there. End quote. So this kind of confirms what we were talking about, though. Back when they did their Xbox Series X presentation in like July, is that there some of these they don't, these deals aren't like, they don't have like a flat deal that they have with everybody. Like they do these things based on the developer, right? Some
Yeah,
developers only charge them 5 million, for their game. Some might charge a million, or whatever, to put their game on Game Pass, something like that. Or it's more like, it's not literally a lump sum of money. It might be something more like your game gets downloaded X number of times and we'll give you money or something like that,
yeah.
or based on how much play time or something like that. So what do you think about this, Montreal?
I thought it was pretty cool. It actually answered my question about how game developers were making money, because I remember that was the biggest thing in the console wars. That, oh man, Xbox is like literally taking money from developers. How are people making money off this? This is stupid. And now they came out and showed you how developers are making money. I think this is actually really good, especially for like indie developers. If they want to like
Yeah.
put their game on Game Pass, they can make out some kind of deal. It may not be as big of a deal as like with Capcom or something like that, but they can still get some money. Put my product on Game Pass, or whatever the deal may be. They make some money off of it. Not to mention that people might actually just buy or invest in the game, and it'll probably be on other platforms. So I think that's really cool. I honestly, right now, I Game Pass isn't missing. Like it's a win-win situation, literally for everybody. I don't see how you can hate this product at all.
Yeah. I think the thing with them, for Microsoft, is I don't think it's actually profitable for them yet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still not quite there, but the thing is, once they hit that profitability point, though, they'll never stop. Like it's not going to flip back the other way, unless they completely fall off a cliff with it, which I
yeah.
doubt they will. So,
This is
like,
getting
I
way
mean,
too much traction for them to like. I think once
right?
they put the little Xbox thing on the TV, if they're going to do that, I think this is really going to take off, because I know
Oh,
even a lot of PC players who are like, "Yeah, I got Game Pass. Like it's $9 a month or
dude,
$10 a month, and
I
I'm
told you. My brother's an Xbox hater. He hates Microsoft, dude, and he has Game Pass sometimes. Like he gets it for a month here or there, depending on like a certain game he wants to play or something.
yeah,
So it's like it's that good. It's that good that people who don't even like Xbox are signing up for it. And that's the other thing about this too, is that the point he makes here is very salient about the fact that they can sell it on other platforms while they're in Game Pass. It's not like they're becoming exclusive to Game Pass.
mhm,
Some of them are, but most of them aren't. It's like Square Enix's games are on Game Pass for this period of time, and they can sell their game on every other platform at the same time. They can even sell it on Xbox. It's like, it's not like just because it's on Game Pass, it's dead. It's not going to ever make another sale. It's like, it's not really how it works. I don't have an Xbox, so I don't have Game Pass. I can get it on PC, but I don't want it at this current moment because I want to make sure I'm actually using it. But um, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like you said, dude. They're not really missing with it. It's such a good deal. Period. And if they can get it on TV, man, where you can stream it through a smart television, you don't even need an Xbox. Like all you need is a controller. That's it. And you can play games like Xbox games, and if it works fairly well, I mean, man, Sony's got to watch out. Because I did hear a rumor that Sony might be working on their own Game Pass answer at some
yeah.
point.
They
So
need to. So
yeah, they definitely need to soon. So I don't know. Game Pass, it's good. It is a good deal at the current moment, and hopefully that doesn't change anytime soon. I doubt it will. They're so invested in it. So, all right, let's move on. We got a couple more stories here. This one is actually a fucking big one, dude. So there was a Capcom Capcom got hacked earlier in November, and the they ended up. So what happened was they got kind of ransomed by the people who hacked them, and then they said, "Fuck it, we're not paying you," and then they just kind of released what they had, what the hackers got a hold of, and said what they got a hold of. So
What
um,
the fuck? I just
what
read
came,
that
yeah,
shit.
what came out of this though is basically their entire lineup of games for the next 4 years.
Oh my
Their
god.
plan of games. So we're gonna go through this list real quick, and then we'll talk about what like kind of sticks out to you. Yeah, Montreal, this is fucking huge. First one up is something called Resident Evil Outrage in Q4 2021, Dragon's Dogma 2 in Q2 2022, Street Fighter 6 in Q3 2022, Rockman Match Q3 2022, Resident Evil 4 Remake Q4 2022, Onimusha New York Q4 2022, Monster Hunter 6 Q2 2023, Biohazard Apocalypse Q3 2023, Super Street Fighter 6 Q4 2023, Final Fight Remake Q2 2024, Power Stone Remake Q3 2024, Ultra Street Fighter 6 Q4 2024, and then Resident Evil Hank Q4 2024. So, dude, this is crazy stuff. We're not gonna go and we're not gonna say anything else about the leaks. There's a lot more information that got leaked, like customer data, internal employee records, and things like that. It was an insane hack, and this really sucks ass for Capcom. I feel really bad for them, but we're gonna stick to this lineup of games. Montreal, what sticks out to you there? There's some obvious ones I can jump to, but I want to hear what you are kind of gravitating towards here.
So I already knew there was a Monster Hunter 6 coming out, or um shit, would that be?
Yeah, but to hear it dated, because that's got to be whatever the follow up to Monster Hunter World is, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would think.
Because
To,
Monster Hunter World is technically 5, I'm assuming, right?
yeah, I think so. Even though it's kind of weird the numbering, because there's been games between the numbered games that aren't, I guess, considered like part of the numbers, because there's Generations and then there's a Rise that's coming out, but they're not like considered numbered entries, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
even World isn't really numbered,
I'm
but
assuming 6 is like a placeholder. Like that's like the next Monster Hunter is
yeah,
going to change the landscape of Monster Hunter. Like because each number
right.
title kind of changes what they do. Like 2 had you can duel the monsters between each other. 3 and had more land. 3 had the whole fucking swimming mechanic.
Underwater.
Yeah. And then
Your
4,
favorite mechanic.
yeah, and then 4 had the mounting mechanic. So and then
Yep.
World obviously was just everything, and it was just really good. So I'm assuming 6 is going to be their next big jump. The game that really sticks out to me, uh, it's called New Work or New York. Is it supposed to be New Work or New York? Onimusha. Because you say New
New
York.
Work. Oh, I said New York. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, New Work. I did
that would
not.
actually make sense because the last Onimusha game they did bring it into the current times, or they are trying to
That's
transit.
funny.
So I was like, oh, they're gonna do this again. But I don't know. Maybe it's like New Work or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Um,
dude, Onimusha's been dormant for like 15 plus years,
yeah,
right?
the last time they did an Onimusha, they just actually remastered Onimusha.
Re-released one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm actually glad they're going back to that. Another one I'm glad
Mhm.
they're going back towards is Power Stone. Oh my god, have everyone and
Yeah.
their mom been asking for Power Stone? I'm actually so happy they're they're going back to it. It's a
Mhm.
remake, so I am iffy about that, but I'm glad they're going back to it. Like, what the fuck? That's really cool. So, Final Fight. I was a Street Fighter, not Street Fighter, but Streets of Rage fan. But I
Yeah.
know that Final Fight kind of started this genre or kind of popularized it. But I was a Streets of Rage fan, so I am going to play it though because I do like those side-scrolling beat 'em ups. So I'm interested in see what they're doing with that. Resident Evil Hank. I'm assuming that's going to be another a spinoff of Resident Evil because they had this one mode where you play as Hank, uh, and that's a character in Resident Evil.
Oh,
And
okay.
a lot of people actually
Interesting.
like Hank. I like him. He's like one of the SWAT dudes that you play as. That he
Yeah.
works for Umbrella, and he comes in after Resident Evil 2, kind of
Oh,
cleans up everything after Resident Evil
okay.
2. So a lot of people like him. So I'm actually cool. I'm actually glad they actually playing into that and they knew who their characters are. So
That's
that's pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah.
There's a lot of Resident Evil on this list. So obviously we got Village coming out early next year. And then I guess something called Outrage is coming out at the end of the year next year.
I'm
And
assuming
then
that's gonna be a take on their old Resident Evil multiplayer game called Resident Evil Outbreak. And that
okay.
so I don't know if you remember, um, Capcom put 4 games out there, and because they were really trying to break into the multiplayer genre, they put Monster Hunter out there, Resident Evil Outbreak, and 2 other games. Only game that
Yeah.
really stuck was Monster Hunter, and they went on with that franchise. That's what they pitched to their team. They said to their team, "Whatever game sticks out, we're gonna go for it with it." And Monster Hunter was the winner obviously out of that one, and they went for it with Monster
Yeah.
Hunter. So they're
Yeah.
probably trying to revisit Outrage because they're. I thought it was pretty cool. It just wasn't fleshed out enough. It was a PS2 a multiplayer game. It was kind of weird. So I think they can do a little bit better with it now.
Yeah, I going back to Monster Hunter real quick. The fact that it was kind of dated for like 2.5 years from now, man, that's far out, dude. Like I am surprised how far out that is. I was thinking we would get it much sooner than that. Like even early 2022 potentially. So to be that far out, it's a little disappointing, but at the same time, I guess like encouraging because then I think that means, I mean, it's going to be a full fledged next gen game. You know, hopefully leveraging whatever next gen features they can out of that. Even Dragon's Dogma 2. This series is like really weirdly popular. People are really into Dragon's Dogma. I hear it all the time, like all over the place. So it's kind of cool that they're bringing that around. I might honestly check that out when it comes out. To see only one Mega Man game in here though, and I have no idea what it is either. Mega Man
Yeah,
Match.
I
That
don't. That's kind of
is
disappointing to me. That's
super
disappointing.
disappointing.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mega Man, it's not a good place right now. Even though I know they came out with Mega Man 11 recently, like that was not super well received. So to see them kind of not leaning into more of those
yeah.
kind of sucks.
I just knew we were gonna get Mega Man Legends 3. I just knew it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, and the last thing on here is Street Fighter 6. So this one's funny because there's 3 Street Fighters on here. They're all Street Fighter 6. They're literally a year apart. There's Street Fighter 6, Super Street Fighter 6, and then Ultra, which I know they've done this in the past with other
And
Street
then
Fighters,
they
but to
continued.
like see it laid out like that, that it's literally planned out this way, you know, that you're gonna release 3 different versions of the game over a 2-year period. It's like kind of like almost like kind of scummy. It
This is
doesn't
what
feel
they
great.
this is what they do, man.
Yeah.
I've never really been a huge Street Fighter fan because I don't know, it's just not my type of game. It's not fast enough for me. But yeah, ever since I was into the fighting game community, they did this, and they actually got a lot of flack for it with Street Fighter 4 because they released Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, Street Fighter 4 Championship Arcade Edition. I'm like, bro, I don't see how y'all keeping up with this shit. Like, it's crazy. And they did the same thing with Marvel vs. Capcom 3. They did Marvel vs. Capcom, and then they did Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, where they fixed and balanced a lot of stuff. And people were very unhappy because we were in the patch era now, where you can just download DLC and patch stuff,
Right.
and it's kind of crazy that they're still getting away with it, in my opinion. So
Yeah, it's their excuse to release a $60 version of the same game with like a few extra things in it. And
yeah,
it's like
and I mean Mortal
that
Kombat's been doing it too. So I guess
yeah.
only people that have been really okay with it is Tekken. They just release new characters and they release a patch when they release a new character. That's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
because I mean, dude, imagine if Smash Bros did that. Like they had Smash Ultimate, right? And then they had like Super Smash Ultimate, you know, and it was like it had like 5 more characters in it and like a few stages. And it's like, what the fuck, guy? What are you doing, guys? Come on. Like it's like a $60 game. It's like, come on, dude. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, because yeah, Street Fighter V was a disaster of a launch, and that game is not that old, right? Like that came out
Uh,
like 2 or 3 years ago.
that came out, I want to say, at the beginning of the generation, a year after the beginning of the generation.
Are you sure, dude? I don't, dude. I remember reporting on it on this podcast.
I don't. I think that game's super old. Street Fighter Five.
Hold on.
I think that game's super old.
February 2016.
Okay, yeah, that's about 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. Damn, that's older than I thought.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, damn, that'd be 6 years between major entries, which is pretty long. Um, well, yeah. So I mean, yeah, this sucks for Capcom though, because like everyone knows this now, and it's like all the competitors know this too, which
oh
means,
yeah, damn,
dude,
I didn't
it's
think
like,
about that.
yeah, man, like they're gonna be able, like everyone has an advantage over them now, basically, and it's like the shit's just out there, and it makes me wonder too, like, are some of these games gonna get canceled now?
I don't
Like,
think so. I think they're gonna switch. They're gonna either try to boost them up or
switch the
switch them.
dates around,
Yeah,
or
switch the
yeah,
dates around.
right.
Yeah,
I bet you're right. I have a feeling very few of these are going to come out when they're like hit on here, because they're so far out. I think it's very easy to push some back and maybe push one forward that's maybe ahead of schedule or something like that.
and then we also
Um,
gotta think too, right? Like this may not be their whole lineup. Uh,
that's definitely true.
yeah,
That's
I
definitely
because
true
I just
because
can't see them not doing another Devil May Cry after the success of Devil May Cry 5.
oh
I'm
yeah, that's
sorry,
true.
I
Yeah.
can't see that.
Well,
Um,
also, there's nothing in the next calendar year listed either. Even though, like, we don't know all the games they have coming out in the next year.
yeah,
Like,
and we don't have. I can't imagine them only releasing one Switch game for Monster Hunter. I, I'm sorry, like they're gonna release
yeah,
another Switch
yeah,
game for Monster Hunter. So,
right.
um, there's definitely a lot of, and we may get another Mega Man game. I don't know. I think all their IPs have been hitting so far. I mean, even though I know Mega Man didn't do that well, but the still the fact that a lot of people played it.
Yeah,
And I think their collection did very well, like all the collections except for like Mega Man Zero. Um, the Mega Man Zero collection. I didn't get the numbers on that one, but I know
hey
the.
man, I hope it did well.
Yeah, I know, because you like it.
Yeah.
I downloaded it. I actually haven't played it yet, but
I need a Mega Man Battle Network re-release,
that's
by the way.
they are working on that. I did hear that.
Okay.
I did hear rumors of
Please,
them
because
working on
dude,
that.
I never played those games, and I heard they are fucking fantastic, and I really want to play them. Like, I really want to play them.
Yeah, those
And
games are actually really good. They're a different
yeah,
take on like RPG. Like I don't know, it's
yeah,
just really cool. So
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think this is it. I think the hackers didn't get everything, but this does suck for them. And you're right, like for the competitors, their competitors know and everything of that nature. So hopefully, though, out of all of this, because actually there's like five. Hold on, there's one, two, three, four Resident Evil games because Biohazard is just
yeah.
Japanese.
Biohazard Apocalypse.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even know what the
that's
fuck that
the
is. So
right.
um,
That's the Japanese name for Resident Evil. So
yeah. So hopefully this prompts EA to like, hey, maybe we should invest in Dead Space again, guys. 'Cause what a Dead
yeah,
Space.
right. Oh my god. Yeah, right, dude. They'll make a mobile game. That's what they'll do. They're gonna make a mobile game. Let's not give them too many ideas, watch out. Fucking EA, man. All right, let's move on. We got one more story. This is kind of a quick one. IO Interactive, they are the makers of the Hitman series. They have announced that they are making a 007 game, a James Bond video game, which it has been quite a while since we got one of these. As far as I know, I think the last one was like, fuck, was it? I don't remember, dude. Might have been like a GoldenEye remake. No, that was a long time ago. Actually, thinking about it.
No, they
Maybe
I think they
Quantum of
did
Solace.
oh shit. They made some games for the new James Bond.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, no, there were tie-in games for the new James Bond, but I think the last one was like Quantum of Solace. So that was a long time ago, dude. Like nearly 10 years. So I think it's been a while since we've had a James Bond video game, and honestly, I can't think of a better dev to make one than IO. Like I've been making Hitman, like 007. Like it's not necessarily doesn't necessarily need to be a stealth game, but just this style that Hitman is, like that kind of typifies James Bond in terms of the weapons he uses and stuff like that. Um, so I think this is a pretty good. I didn't watch the teaser. I heard from what I heard, it was nothing like really to write home about. But what do you think, Montreal? Does this excite you? Are you a James Bond fan?
I am. I just don't know where they're going to go with it. Honestly, I'm tired of the first person James Bond. I love GoldenEye. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't want another first person game. Uh,
No, I agree with you.
One of my personal favorites. It was a third person James Bond. I can't remember which one it was, but it still had Pierce Bronson on it. But it was third person, and I love the fuck out that game. And I hope they make it again,
Yeah.
uh, or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I've been actually craving the James Bond game because I did like, a couple months ago go through and watch some of the James Bond games, and I like Daniel Craig. I think he deserves to be in the game. I think his version of James Bond, like the action packed James Bond, deserves to
Hmm.
have a game that fits his narrative and it fits him. So
Yeah.
I think that would
Yeah.
be pretty cool.
Yeah, and, well, it does say their tweet about it, or the James Bond Twitter, the 007 at 007 Twitter. That is pretty dope, actually. It said that it's going to be a James Bond origin story, so
Okay.
you will be earning your 00 status in the game. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, look forward to that. All right, so that's it for news. We I did mention at the beginning of the show we're going to talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales and the original game a little bit as well because Montreal did beat that too. So at this point, this is the point of the show. Get out now. We're not going to be talking anything non-spoilers here. So if you haven't played the game, you don't want to hear any of this, get out, shut the podcast off. We will see you next week.
Yeah,
Thanks for
do
listening.
do the rigmarole for them if they leave right now.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. How about that? We'll do this as like a bonus segment after the fact. So for those of you who like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. Please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage, for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at Thundernut01. The show is at the Player's Take. You can send us questions on Twitter, or you can send an email to theplayerstake01 at gmail.com. And that is it for the regular show. Here we are in the special VIP section for those of you who, really sticking with us here. So we can let everyone else get out the door, walk out, shuffle out, with masks on, all that stuff. And then the rest of you come closer. Not really 6 feet apart, everybody. 6 feet, social distance. Let's go. All right. So Montreal, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. How did you feel about this game, man?
Can I start out with the remake? I mean the
Yeah,
remaster.
sure. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know everyone played it, but I haven't played it. So I played the remaster. Actually, I beat Miles Morales first, but I played the remastered, and now I mean I was talking to Dennison over text message, and now I see what everyone was talking about. Yeah, this is probably one of the best fucking superhero games. Fucking
Absolutely.
Batman, you can kiss my
Oh,
ass.
sorry, Arkham. Peace. Like,
Yeah,
no,
like
no, not even close,
I had
dude.
Arkham Asylum. The first Batman game is like that was like peak like action game
It
superhero
was.
game for me. But this game has like topped that. And Arkham Asylum, don't get me wrong, still holds up to this day in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Still a good
100%.
detective slash fighting game. But yeah, this game, man, like the traversing, uh being Peter, just seeing his daily struggles. As I forgot how broke Peter was. Like I really in one of the part he
Really
loses
has a
his
job,
apartment.
dude.
Yeah, like in one of the parts he loses his fucking apartment and like he gets evicted. And I'm like, bro, I forgot how poor you. I forgot how much of a human being you are. You are us. Like
Yeah.
you're still just working day to day and saving and fighting crime. I
Yeah.
think that's what
Yeah.
this game
If New
actually.
York knew, by the way, if New York knew, like at large knew that he was like poor as shit and he got evicted, like my God, dude, they would like do a GoFundMe and raise like $50 million for him.
Exactly. It actually re-sparked my interest in Spider-Man because I remember I used to read Spider-Man comics all the time when I was young, and I forgot what sparked him in me because he was just like a regular person like us. He just so happened to have superpowers. But the comics were all about his life. And I think the video game actually did a good job at portraying that. Like, this guy is a normal guy. He still has to go to work every day. He still has a family. He still has an ex that he's going through. Like, my favorite part when he's texting his texting Mary Jane, he was upside down and he was like, it's over. And she's like, oh, it's over? And he's like, no, 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 no. I meant the thing with me and the villain.
That
It's
was
over.
so real. That was such a real moment, dude. I love that. I love that kind of shit, dude. Because yeah, it's such a misunderstanding, right? Like you've done that before,
Yeah,
where you send the you send the wrong text to the wrong person, or you send a text and you didn't read it through properly, and you're like, oh shit, no,
yeah.
and it's just it's so funny.
So yeah, it actually really personified Peter, in my opinion. I love the
Hmm.
villain fights. Even though there's only so much you can do within the villain fights because of your powers and stuff, I love how they had everyone you were going against two of them at the same time and all that stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, and there's so many of them in the game too,
yeah,
dude. It's
yeah.
fucking nuts, actually, when you
Uh,
think about it.
I love Doctor Ock. I love his character progression throughout the game, how he
Yep.
actually becomes Doctor Ock and stuff like that. Uh,
Well, you like help him become Doc Ock.
yeah, yeah,
Like you help him figure out how to make the arms work, you know?
yeah. You just see it slowly progressing towards that. Um, and I
Because
just
dude,
thought,
if you go, did you were you when you went to the lab, right? Did you walk around the lab every time you went there? Because
yeah,
if you look at it, yeah, if you go to the whiteboards that are on some of the walls, like you can see his mental degeneration happening, like
oh
because he
yeah.
writes things on the walls that are crazy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
even Peter points that out, even when, like, you're listening to the tape recordings and everything of that nature. I do like, even though you didn't really get too much personification with, or not personification, but, character development with other villains. Like, I did like how it did try to humanize them, some of them. Like Rhino, his whole thing was Doc Ock was like, "Yo, I can. If you do this for me, I can get you out that suit." Like, that was his whole thing. I want to get out this fucking suit. Like, I'm tired of being a
yeah,
victim to the suit. And I felt bad after I noticed that. I'm like, damn, like he's trapped in that suit. I feel bad for Rhino. What the fuck?
yeah,
And what's his face? Mr. Negative. Like, his whole thing too, like how his parents died and he killed his parents by mistake through the Osborne fucking
yeah.
experiments and stuff like that. And I mean, I just thought the whole game was good. The only thing, only my only drawback with it is just the nodes everywhere, all the challenges you have to do. It was
There's too
very,
much.
yeah, it was very Assassin's Creedish in that aspect. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because you had to unlock the tower, the police tower.
Yep. Yep. You had to
It-
go. You had to go find the towers or whatever to unlock the map and all
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, I didn't really like that aspect, but I did like the random crimes that happen and everything of that nature. I love all that. I really felt like Spider-Man, um, in that aspect. Uh, and I love how Miles Morales in this one, it shows how he progressed. So after I beat this game, I'm actually gonna go back and play Miles Morales because now I want to play Miles Morales again, knowing
With the
the
context, right?
context.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so that's my whole little stick on that. But Miles Morales now, um, I thought Miles Morales was like, in my opinion, the perfect fucking bite-size Spider-Man game. Even the
Yeah.
challenges, I don't platinum shit, y'all. I finish the story and I go about my business. Like, you can look at my profile right now. I have no platinums. I think this is the first game where I can like, this is doable. Like, the challenges are small. Like, it's not too
Yep.
much on the map for me. It's not too much going on, but it's just enough to where it's still you're still in the same New York. And I don't know how they did it, but it feels different. Like, it doesn't feel like the same New York that you were when you were Peter. I don't know if
Yeah.
you got that feeling, but I had that feeling like this is a totally. You would think you're in a totally different part of New York, but you're in the same part of New York. That
It's the same map. I'm pretty sure the map's like literally just copy pasted from the first game,
yeah,
but
exactly. But they made it feel drastically different, and I don't know
yeah.
how they did that, but they did. Maybe because it's the story and perspective of everything. I like Miles Morales as a character. I think his character progression was
Oh,
really,
he's awesome, dude.
yeah, man.
I love. I have not experienced a lot of Spider-Man, like a lot of Miles Morales versions of Spider-Man, but playing this game, yeah, I really fell in love with the character, dude. He is so wholesome, like just so wholesome, man. Like he doesn't get down about things, and it's like even when he should, it's like he still comes around to being very positive and figuring out the solution, and it's like he's just I don't know. I don't know if I like him more than Peter. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, but
No, I don't like him more than Peter. After playing the remaster, I like Peter more. I still like Peter.
mhm,
I'll say I like him just as much. I like them in different ways. I like Miles Morales for who he is as a character, and I like Peter for who he is as a classic Peter.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
fighting with of Peter, and you hear your little quips going and everything of that nature, like you can't beat that. Like
He's so cheesy,
yeah,
dude, and it's
Spider
like,
Cop,
and
that shit was having that
yeah,
shit had me
and you
rolling.
you can you can you can see Miles like trying to do it too in the game, and he can't do it, and he like literally acknowledges he's like, man, I can't. I just like I can't. I don't. My brain doesn't work like his. You know, like it's just not the same. You know, where like Peter's like taunting the villains as he's fighting them and stuff. You know, it's just I don't know. There's just a humor there that's really funny. But I think the thing is though they have two protagonists here with this series now, and I think going forward, like in the next game, I think we're gonna play as both of these characters.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I don't think we're gonna exclusively play as one or the other, and I think that is great because that's gonna differentiate the gameplay, give us some variety. And I just yeah, I don't. You know what's funny though? You know that article that everyone was bagging on the GameSpot article or whatever, where the guy what did he
Nigga
say? There was
said,
like a real like black teen swagger or
yeah,
whatever
the
to Miles.
exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It's memed all over Twitter, by the way. It's fucking
And
hilarious.
you know, honestly though, I feel bad for the person because the wording was poor. Because I know what they mean though. Because
I get it
it,
too. Me and Dennis were saying that. Like, we get what he's saying. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
really bad. It
yeah,
was really badly worded. But yeah, I get the
right.
exaggeration of a
Yeah, because this game though like has that culture in it, you know.
yeah.
And there is a moment like late in the game, and I'm sure this triggered a lot of people where they do like the Black Lives Matter like
Oh yeah, pretty
thing
good.
like graffiti on the side of one of the buildings when you
Yeah,
get one of the suits. But it's not. But the cool part about Miles though is that he's multicultural. He's not just black. Like he has
he's
Puerto
Puerto
Rican.
Rican. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican as well, and to see that in a game is actually really interesting because yeah, Puerto Rico is not represented in video games like in any way.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if it ever has been. Period. So to see that in such a major character, Spider-Man, you know, and to see it like put in the forefront, honestly, is really cool. Like they didn't put one side of it or the other, in my opinion, like ahead. Like they kind of equally represented both cultures to me.
No, yeah. As a black person, yeah, I obviously. But as I saw it, uh, they did represent both of them really cool. I actually tweeted out today. I finally playing Miles Morales. I know we talked about it before, and I feel strongly about it. But it's more than just having a black character in a video game. Like this actually represented a part of me that I was just like that resonated with me from the beats of the intro music to when you're swinging around and talking to people. Even when he's speaking in Spanish, that's not my culture, but I can understand that, you know. Like, and then he switches back
Yeah.
to like, you know, to I guess the black side or whatever, and you know, talking to that part of the culture and everything like that with his uncle and everything like that. Um, it really represented that aspect of us because we don't get that kind of representation in games
Hmm.
necessarily, if that makes any sense. And I really like that. I'm like, this is how you do an accurate representation. Like people can point to Grand Theft Auto, but that's like I don't really consider that like San Andreas, like CJ. Yeah, that's one aspect of like black culture, but it's like a really negative aspect of black culture, in my opinion. Um, um, it's a reality for a lot of people, and it was a reality for a lot of people I know. But then you also have the people that didn't kind of grow up like that. They grew up like Miles, like they didn't experience all that stuff. They just so happened to live in the area where that was prospering, but they were smart. And I think
Yeah.
the game
Yeah.
just did a really good job at, you know, portraying both sides of everything. And with
Yeah.
and him being a superhero, he really didn't have to deal with that much. But you just
Hmm.
saw his little flair of the exaggerated black swagger of a teen. You saw it with each swing,
Yeah.
each
Yeah, he swings differently from Peter. Like
yeah,
there, you can you there's literally a button you can press to do tricks which I don't remember being in the original game.
It is in
Um,
it's in I don't know if it's in the original one, but in the remaster, you can't do
it's in the
tricks with it.
remaster, so maybe it is. I don't remember that, but the thing is, even when you're not doing the tricks though, like Miles swinging around the city normally, like he is doing tricks, and like you can tell though that he's like an amateur, right?
Yeah,
He swings
exactly.
like he's an amateur Spider-Man. Like he kind of it kind of feels like he could fall to the ground at any moment, like because he doesn't seem like he has like a perfect grip of like where to put his webs, and like like he's like swinging backwards sometimes, and he does this thing too where he like kind of air runs when he's like swinging, and it's just it's like so funny, dude. It's so funny to me, man. I love the way they like they're really good at like kind of making those little details like part of the character, like that's how they differentiated Peter and Miles. It could have been it would have been really easy for them to feel almost blended if they hadn't done that kind of stuff, like taking the time to make sure like even the music that plays when you're swinging around the city is different,
Yeah, yep.
it's way more towards like like it has that like kind of like there's like a beat to it,
Yeah, it has a more
whereas
hip hop trap feel.
right, yeah, exactly. Hip hop. That's what I was trying to think of. It has more of like a hip hop trap, like undertone to it,
Yeah,
which would so they have different styles. And like going back to what you were saying about too about Miles as a like a kind of a black man in New York City, like you can tell it's interesting the way he's portrayed outside of the suit, because you can tell that everyone around him like realizes he's a really special person,
yeah,
just like not being Spider-Man, just being Miles, like that he is a special person who he is. And it's really kind of cool to see that portrayal of him too, that it's not just about like the suit, the fact that he has powers,
yeah,
like he himself, Miles, is a special individual, like he has special traits. So I don't know, I just think this game overall is like I thought it was really good. And then the length that you talked about, like we talked about earlier, I think that's a really key part of why this game hit so well for me. If this was as long as the original game, I would have been sick of it by the halfway point. The thing is, the halfway point in this game is when the game ends.
yeah,
So it was perfect, It was like literally the perfect size for me to tolerate this game, because like I wasn't really in the mood for Spider-Man. Like I really like I've just played the original game like less than 2 years ago.
okay, okay.
It hasn't been that long for me since I played the original game, so I wasn't really like itching to play this. But it was short enough, and there wasn't too much stuff to do where I was like, it's the perfect bite size that you were saying. And this is like this is kind of my thing with AAA games is like I'm not saying I don't want games longer than this. Like I absolutely do, but like Spider-Man's not even that long of a game. The original game, it's
No,
like
it's
30 hours
yeah,
maybe to
it's not that
platinum.
long. Yeah,
It's really not that long of a game. But the thing is, this game is 10 to 15 hours, to fully complete, to do everything in it. And that's nice. That is I beat this game over 3 consecutive days,
mhm.
3 different sittings, and it wasn't the only game I was playing in that 3-day period either. I was playing other games, and you know what? That felt fucking great. That I could literally beat this game in 3 days and still be playing other games at the same time, Like I didn't feel like I had to devote my life to playing this game to beat it. And that was a really nice feeling. Like I don't feel like modern video games don't give me that very much.
Yeah,
Playing something like even an indie game like Crosscode, I'm at like 50 hours on that game played, and it's just like Jesus Christ. I'm like I'm ready for this game to be over, It's like so I think that was a kind of a breath of fresh air with it too. Is like when I initially put the game in and started playing it, I'm like, God, I don't really want to play Spider-Man. But then I played it for a couple hours and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm already like 15% of the way through this game. Like, oh, okay. Like we could be done with this in one sitting if I wanted to. And that is an interesting thing. I think that's great. And I think that's to this game's credit. So hopefully we get some more experiences like this in the future. I don't want every game to be like this, but maybe every once in a while we get games that are a little bit more bite sized, like an Assassin's Creed that's like a quarter of the size of a normal Assassin's Creed game,
yeah.
God forbid, Ubisoft,
God
you actually
forbid.
do that,
You know what?
you know?
To their credit, I watched Scale Up's review of Immortals. Phoenix Rising or Phoenix Immortals or whatever the fuck it's called. Nah,
Hmm.
I can't remember it. I'm actually thinking about
Immortals Phoenix
yeah,
Rising. Yeah.
Immortals Phoenix Rising. I'm actually thinking about buying that game. It actually looked really good to me when I first looked at it, but then I watched Skillip's review of it and he had a lot of praise for it. So I trust him as a reviewer. So I'm actually going to pick it up because that game looks like the Breath of the Wild that I actually want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which is funny
Yeah.
enough, not to get on the tangent, but I saw a lot of reviews saying that it's too much like Breath of the Wild and they hate it. So I don't know. But getting back to Spider-Man, yeah, like you said, perfect bite-sized game. The biggest takeaway for this game for me is I think the reason why I don't have no issues with this game, even the original Spider-Man remastered, I don't have any issues with it, is because I know I said I fucking hate open world games. And I know you guys like, well, you fucking hate open world games much. How can you like this one so much?
Yeah.
The key thing is the traversal. I I
Oh,
have the
yeah.
option of fast traveling in this game. I don't
Yeah.
because I love traversing the Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, because dude, yeah, swinging around is. It's kind of unfair to put other games up to this because you can't match this. Like you're not like you can't like Geralt's not going to be grappling hooking around fucking the Witcher world. Like he's not doing that, But it's just there's something about this game though. It's like you're totally right though. It's like you can fast travel in this game and the game loads in like a second, which another thing that's fucking crazy by the way that we haven't mentioned, but like who I don't towards the end of the game though I didn't want to because I was like, man, I haven't played this game that long, like I'm not done with the swinging yet. I
Yeah,
want to like get my fill of the swinging around and just like going from place to place. And dude, that like I can't get it out of my head that is literally the best part of these games, straight up. As much as the story's really good, the combat's really good, the side content's really good, like the fucking swinging is just unmatched. It's so fucking fun. I could do it for hours, hours and hours on end. I am not kidding when I say that because there's so much you can put your own personality into it. Like
yeah,
the way you traverse, there's so many ways to move through the game world
exactly.
that you can have your own style of swinging. Where I'm somebody who likes to kind of like I swing low and then go up high and then I hit the top of buildings and jump off those and
Yeah,
then I use that speed to like swing and get a huge swing and jump up and do it again. Like other people though might just like swing, like they don't actually hit the tops of buildings. But it's like there's so many different moves you can do in traversal that it's so fucking fun, dude. Like
yeah. No,
I don't know,
I
it's
didn't
hard to
even
explain.
I didn't even think about that. Like the different styles of like how you can traverse. Because yeah, I do all that. Sometimes I may go high or I may just swing really low, like how they do in the
Right.
cartoons. He swings really low and stuff like that. Or
Yep.
I wall run.
Yep.
And I did mention, you know, a lot of people don't know, but this game actually uses like the wall running mechanics of fuck, what's that game called? It came on the Xbox One. Fuck.
Sunset Overdrive?
Sunset Overdrive. There you go.
So you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
game
yeah.
uses the wall running mechanics of Sunset Overdrive. So I think I, I, Ubisoft knows how to do traversal because even traversal in that game was open world, and that game was fucking fun. Like you can grind on walls, run on walls, and stuff like that. Um, when I'm looking at games like Batman and Arkham City, I don't know if I didn't play Arkham City or did I play Arkham City? That's the one with the car. I don't know if he had a grapple
No,
hook.
Arkham Knight. Arkham City's the middle one.
Okay. Um, did he have a grapple hook? Like he grappled to other buildings?
Yeah, but it was the thing is
It was static. It was kind of static like.
Batman was deliberately designed to be slower, obviously, than this.
Yeah.
And it was more about getting high and gliding wherever you wanted to go.
Okay.
And that inherently is slower gameplay and is not nearly as interesting because it's not interactive at all. You jump off the building and start gliding, and you just hold the forward button until you get to your destination. And he had like his big thing was like obviously grapple points. You could grapple to specific points in the environment, wherever you were.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you got around the city. But in the third game, the city was so big, that's why they gave you the car, because it would not have been fun to traverse around as Batman because he doesn't traverse very fast. In Arkham City, you didn't have the car because the city wasn't that large. It wasn't a city. It was like a small section of a city. It was like one area within like the Manhattan that's in Spider-Man. You know how they're
Yeah,
like broken into areas like Chinatown and Uptown and blah blah blah.
yeah,
It like Arkham City was like one of those, you know, it wasn't that large. So the game got away with Batman being a slow in traversal. And then obviously Arkham Asylum, like you weren't the traversal was like the game was so small there wasn't really traversal in the same way there is in Spider-Man, you know, like you didn't traverse the environment like that. So I think that's the thing about Batman. I never really thought about this comparing the two series, but Batman never evolved really past the traversal in Asylum, even though the games got larger, the game worlds got larger.
yeah.
And that kind of explains to me why they put the Batmobile into the third game, because they would have had to fix their traversal mechanics, you know?
Well, I think
And
about
maybe they
people like
didn't want to do that.
Nightwing and Robin, like they move throughout the city, in my opinion, fast. The cartoons I watched, the comics I read, they're kind of acrobatic in how they move through the city.
Yeah, they almost glide like, you know, those like glider like those like body suits you can wear that have like glider
Yeah,
things on them.
yeah,
Like they kind of wear those, whereas Batman uses his cape to glide,
yeah. That's
and
true.
it's much slower as a result, you know. So
Yeah, because I don't know. I think this game really highlights the issues that a lot of gamers have, like me, which is I'll mention another point too, but which is like the traversal. Like I think that's my biggest drawback because that's the thing you're going to be doing a lot in open world games is moving from point to point. So you need to make
yeah,
that part of the game as fun as possible. In this
yeah,
game, yeah, like you said, I can sometimes I like to boot up Spider-Man and just do random crimes that happen around the city and turn it off. I don't even do anything for that day. I do that for like an hour and
yeah,
I'm Spider-Man that day. I'm Spider-Man right there.
hmm
And I think that's so cool that I can do that. Whereas if I want to be fucking Batman for the day, I don't think I can get that same niche or that same itch I can if I want to be fucking Spider-Man on patrol and stuff like that. Um, Another thing is that it does way better, and it takes essence from Batman. I give it that, and then improved upon it is the combat. The combat is really
yeah,
good, both as Peter and as Miles Morales. Playing them both back to back, they definitely have different styles. Uh, Miles is definitely a little bit more amateurish, but more brutal. I want to say brutal.
yeah. He can hang in combat a little bit more than Peter.
Yeah,
Peter's a little bit more like you almost need to like kind of flit around the combat arena a
yeah,
lot. Like
yeah,
you can't stay in one spot as Peter too much.
yeah,
He needs to use his gadgets to kind of take advantage of combat more. Whereas Miles with the Venom powers, he can literally just wade into a giant group of enemies and fuck them all up. You
yeah.
know, like
Yeah, he's very gritty in
so
his combat, whereas Peter is
yeah,
more acrobatic. And you can tell that they both have different styles. One's more amateurish, one's more acrobatic, and he's a professional at this now. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I like that, and I like how there's different varieties to the combat. If you want to be a gadget person, you can be that. If you want to use your web slinging all the time, you can. I was more of a combo person, so I was just using a lot of more combos and air combos and things of that nature. I think like
hmm
that really hit as far as like playing as a superhero because I feel like I was reading the comics when I'm playing the game or I'm watching the cartoon when I'm playing the game. I did feel like that when I was Batman, and I would say Arkham Asylum because I don't like the other ones, but Arkham Asylum I felt that way. But my whole issue is now I think I expressed that earlier was the cape was blocking a lot of the animations. Like it was
hmm
it just I just saw a huge cape fluttering around when I do the stuff and I'm
Well,
like
the physics of that thing weren't fucking where they are today.
yeah
So
exactly.
yeah, he's just clipping through bodies and shit. You
Yeah,
know.
and it really took away from the animations for me. Whereas with this game, I saw all the flashy. I still got the flashiness of Spider-Man, with the combat and everything of that nature. And I actually I like that a lot. I think that was not only biggest takeaway from Miles Morales, which I know kind of goes against what I initially liked about the game was the length. But I wish I had at least one or two more villains to fight. You just got the Tinkerer, and that was cool.
Yeah.
And I liked her as a villain. Um, we did get the Prowler, but he was kind of like an anti-hero throughout the
Yeah.
game.
Rhino
And Rhino, yeah, but we fought him like
twice.
twice, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did wish we got like at least two more villains.
There's a vulture fight
Yeah,
into the
yeah, that's how I was
simulate.
gonna.
That's not a real boss fight. It wasn't like it was super easy.
Yeah,
So um, I think the second Rhino fight was fucking crazy.
yeah,
I
it
think that
was.
boss fight was awesome. Like that was a fucking awesome fight. Where he's like throwing tanks at you and shit while the Tinkerer's over there fighting like a bunch of goons and you have to avoid them and shit. It was pretty crazy. I thought that was a really cool fight. Honestly, what did you think about the Tinkerer? Like the final fight though against the Tinkerer? I
Oh
wasn't a
man, that
huge fan of it personally.
I think that fight was really cinematic. It was a really cinematic
It
fight.
was,
It wasn't. It
yeah,
wasn't a good boss
yeah.
fight.
Mechanically, it wasn't
Yeah,
great.
that's the word I'm looking for. Mechanically, it wasn't great. It was just a simple dodge, just dodge that and go in.
Yeah.
Um, but cinematic wise, it was a really good fight. When you hit her and stuff like that, and you fight her and you do your
Yeah,
specials
she
on.
say she's like screaming at you,
Yeah,
like, "Why don't you go down?" or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, it was a really good cinematic fight. Her as a character, I liked her as a character. I think she had a lot of development.
yeah,
She wasn't a typical villain. She wouldn't listen to Spider-Man. It kind of reminded me of Doc Ock in a way, like how he was like, "I'm trying to save you," but in this one, she actually, spoiler alert, she dies at the end. Um, Whereas
yeah.
Doc Ock, he still lives. But it did give me that Doc Ock feel. Not that I played the remastered version, that they were friends and
They have similar arcs. Yeah,
yeah. She goes through this, like, stuff happens and she wants to take down this huge organization and it ends up killing her. Her revenge ends up killing her. So I like that. I don't know. I mean, what did you think of her?
So I liked the character. I think the development of her was a little frustrating at times because I think there was a little bit of contrivance with some of the issues where like when Miles found out at the bottom of the Roxxon lab when you were fighting Rhino actually on what's his name Krieger's computer
Yeah.
that the explosion was going to destroy Harlem. The fact that it took him three different like run-ins
Yeah.
with Finn to actually tell her that was really frustrating on my from for me is it felt really contrived because like it's just like bro just yell it at her, yell it in her face, because by the time he actually told her that, she was too far gone. She didn't believe anything he said anymore. Like if he had said that earlier on, like she might have come around, but I mean, that's the story they were trying to tell, I guess. By the time she stabbed Rhino, like she was gone at that point, which is when he found that information out. So maybe it was too late, anyways. But I don't know. I think it's just some of her like the whole like her trying to pull the victim card against him of like, oh, you lied to me to get into the fucking underground or whatever. It's like, lady,
Yeah, that
you are literally a part of a gang, like a villainous evil gang, and you're trying to blow up a fucking building in New York. Like
the simple fact,
Miles is Spider-Man trying to stop you. Like you are not the virtuous one here. Like
yeah,
it was a
I
little
had to chalk
ridiculous
that up to him
with
being
that.
young because there's no way that shit
Yeah.
would have worked on like a grown man. Like Peter wouldn't have took that shit. Like, I
Yeah,
lied to you.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
the fact that he took that was he was kind of meek,
yeah.
honestly, in that moment. And that I mean, yeah, that's kind of a learning experience for him. But yeah, it's just really annoying to watch it happen and be like, bro, like, why are you letting her say these things to you? You should have zero guilt about lying to her about this.
She's
Like, you are
trying to
trying to
blow up
stop her
Harlem.
from committing a fucking felony. Like shit.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
like yeah, that and like the simple fact that yeah, when he found out that it's gonna blow up Harlem, like she just refused to listen to him. Like, you still lying to me. Why would I lie about blowing up Harlem? Like, we
Literally the building outside the windows are getting blown out. There's a giant fucking like blue cloud outside that you see pulsing and she doesn't believe him. Like, what are you talking about, lady? Like, are you serious? Like, how far gone are you that you can't see what's right in front of you? Like, it was
is
ridiculous. So
as realistic as these games look, I like how it doesn't it doesn't make you forget that this is a video game and a superhero game. Because in both
based on a comic book,
basically
right?
yeah, like because in both instances of the game, New York turns into a fucking war zone. Like
Oh my god. It's crazy, dude. The end of Miles Morales is bonkers. Where like literally the ground is like getting destroyed, like the streets are getting like it's like an earthquake is happening, you know?
And they're
It's
fighting in the
really funny.
rooftops
They go,
and stuff. It's just a
yeah,
war zone. It's crazy.
yeah, and they go 4 month or 4 weeks ahead after you finish the story, and everything's fine. All the buildings are perfectly fine. The streets like normal. There's no broken asphalt or anything. It's like, man, dude,
And
government's working fast, huh? Like,
even
holy
the
shit.
remastered version of Spider-Man, like after everyone breaks out of the prison, out of Rikers, New York literally becomes a war zone. There are like gangs of prisoners walking down the streets with AK-47s and
Yep.
taking over
Rocket
bunkers,
launchers.
rocket launchers. They're on buildings. They're like sniper nest. Like you cannot walk.
Oh my god, dude, I know.
Like, you're
I just
swinging.
imagine being a regular person in New York, like in this world. How horrifying! Like, dude, the thing is, like, Jameson's like played up. You know, how Jameson, like, you know, they play like little clips of him throughout the game when you're swinging around or whatever.
Yeah,
Is like, I get where he's coming from. Okay, like I totally get where he's coming from. I don't know how anyone can sit here and say that like Spider-Man. Oh, everything's happened. It's totally cool. Like New York's literally like there's literally like fucking snipers, rocket launchers. This like fucking dude in a robot costume flying around shooting rockets at like fucking oil rigs and shit. Like this dude with like these metal robot arms destroying Times Square. Like, oh yeah, that's fucking fine. Spider Man's got it all under control. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. A little crazy. It's a
yeah.
little
I
crazy.
was just
So
like, oh yeah, I was the same way though. I imagined myself as a regular fucking citizen of New York,
yeah.
and then like all these fucking prisoners break out of Rikers. And then I forgot what they call the other little private faction, armed military faction that's fighting in the streets.
Uh
New York Saber, I think
Sabers?
that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
Saber or Cyber or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
they're fighting in the streets. So like when I say they're a sniper nest through litter at one point of Spider-Man littered throughout the game, yeah, they literally call it a war zone. Like these are war zones, and they're taking prisoners of war and stuff like that. Like Saber's taking prisoners.
Oh my god.
Like
Yeah, they set up these like quarantine checkpoints
yeah,
or whatever where they literally stopping people from going to like the other side of the street.
like,
Like,
where's the military? Like, why is the military coming?
yeah, seriously. I feel like like the National Guard would have rolled in and fucking nuked the place. You know, it's like it's fucking insanity, dude.
So it's just like I like how
uh,
how both of them they do this like in-game scenario where like only Spider-Man can save the day or whatever. But it's funny because I'm like, yeah, this is definitely I gotta remember this is definitely a superhero game. Like this will happen in the comic or whatever. So I mean, I like that. I don't want it to be too realistic or whatever. The characters may look realistic, but the game is definitely not realistic. I love that about the game.
yeah, I mean, like we're laughing about it. I'm not being critical. Like, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a video game. Like, I want it to be kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Like, they got to up the stakes, right? You know, and honestly, I think in Miles Morales specifically, like the end moment really shows how heroic Miles is. Like, it's a great end cap to the end of his story
yeah,
for the game. You know, where it really like he is literally willing to sacrifice himself to save Harlem, and he ends up losing his friend because of it. You know, Finn dies or whatever. She sacrifices herself to save him, and that's how he redeems her. Is that she watches him fucking literally crawling, can't even stand anymore, and he fucking walks up to this bomb that's about to explode and destroy everything, and he literally absorbs all the energy into himself, and she's just like, holy shit, like, you know, that moment inspires her to sacrifice herself basically
yeah,
in redemption, you know, and that is a beautiful moment, you know, in the game. So at the end of the day, I think the game, like, I think it has a really compact story, but it's a whole story though. Like, it doesn't feel like it's missing anything, you
yeah,
know. And I'll be honest too, like I love the way these games have these quiet moments too, where it's not always just Spider-Man. Like, you're in the apartment and you're like setting up the table for Christmas dinner, and like those little moments though, they're nice though. Like they feel, that's where you see that like normal side of his life.
yeah,
And I like that they put that in there because they do that in the first game too with Peter. and it's such a nice way to get like acquainted with these characters, and it makes me want to spend more time with them,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm really looking forward to the next game, honestly, and I'm excited because I think it's gonna be fucking crazy. Actually,
Yeah,
I really
I
do.
think so too.
Because yeah, I think we're gonna get both characters. I think we're gonna play as both characters, and I wouldn't be surprised if like the villains they bring in. I don't know. I'm honestly, part of me is hoping that an Avenger shows up at some point. I don't know if they'll be able to swing that with
So
Marvel, but
that
you
was
know,
pretty funny to me. As playing remastered Spider-Man, New York is literally on fire. You can see several buildings and towers on fire, and like the Avengers are nowhere to be found.
the Avengers headquarters is in the game. It's in the game. Like the building is in the game. Like it's in New York, and like none of them are there. You don't see it. You don't see any of them, hide nor hair of any of them. You know. So I'm kind of hoping we see maybe one of them, just to kind of like give us an inkling of a bigger world out there than just New York. Also, I do kind of wonder though, will the next game even take place in New York proper? I don't know.
Yeah, it may
That'll
take
be
place in a
interesting.
different part of New York or outside of the city or
Yeah.
somewhere. I
Right.
thought it was pretty cool in the remastered. They did reference the Avengers when you go to the tower the first time.
Yep.
He does say like, "Oh, I think they're in like California or something," and that's actually where the actual Avengers game from Square Enix. That game takes place in California.
Yep.
So they did
And I
reference
think
that.
that was intentional.
Yeah, it was.
Like I think that was intentional. I think originally they intended for this to be like kind of a pseudo universe in and of itself. But I don't know if that's still on the cards anymore, given how bad that game was. But even so, though, I kind of hope we get whatever their own version of the Avengers. Like I would love to see one of those characters show up,
Yeah.
even if it's brief.
Well,
You
because
know?
Taskmaster's in this game and he's in the Avengers game as well. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but like um I do think that maybe Marvel should just hand the reins off to Insomniac and be like, listen, make a Captain Avenger. I want a Captain America.
Make your own
Yeah,
universe,
I want a Captain America game. Like that's what I really want. So
man, or an Iron Man game, like a good one.
yeah, good one.
That could be really fun, dude. You know, remember how fun Anthem was? I
Yeah.
mean, there you go. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the future of this franchise. I think Sony's got a severe gem on their hands here. Like this is acquiring Insomniac was the most obvious thing Sony could have done, and it's crazy that it took until fucking 2019, or I think it happened this year, didn't
It
it? I don't
happened
even
this year
remember.
actually.
Yeah, it's crazy that it took till now for them to acquire the studio because they have been making great fucking games for like 20 plus years, and they've been doing it for Sony too. That's the crazy part. So you know, good for them for acquiring them. Like they frankly to me are like they might be their best studio. Straight up, even though I don't like all their games or I don't play all their games, like I just think the quality of shit and the volume and quality of games they're putting out is crazy to me.
I don't know.
Honestly,
I
so
think they have competition definitely in their hands. Even though they definitely let who was it, Sucker Punch who made Ghost of Tsushima?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
they definitely let Sucker Punch know, like, hey, we know how to make a good game too. Because Miles Morales came back and was like, yeah, we know how to make good games too.
Hey, don't forget Santa Monica, dude.
Yeah, Santa
I
Monica.
mean, they're waiting in the wings with Ragnarok, man.
But as far as like, I'm just talking about like open world games. Like, I think these
Yeah,
two are competitors with each other because I mean, if you gotta choose between Ghost of Tsushima or Miles Morales, it's like they're two different sides of the same coin. It's just like you experience one differently than the other, and it's like I don't know. They're both great games. So Sony, honestly, they can't miss within the next couple of years. They got Santa Monica, they got Sucker Punch, they got Insomniac,
Gorilla.
they got Gorilla.
Yep,
Although to
Naughty
me,
Dog.
Gorilla kind of missed with Horizon Zero Dawn. That wasn't my particular favorite game. Um, and
Yeah,
Killzone
I agree with you, but it's still a good
still
game.
a good
Like, it's
game.
still a very good game.
So I don't know, man. I can't wait to see what comes out. This was a great opener for the PS5, even though it came out on the PS4 as well. This was a great opener, a great little bite size of what the PS5 can do, in my opinion.
I mean, Montrell, we got to get that real big boy PS5 launch game with Demon Souls.
Oh
We
yeah,
we got to get on
I
that,
get that shit.
man.
Yeah, I still haven't
Yeah,
got it
man.
yet.
I haven't either because, dude, like honestly, like Cyberpunk's coming out next week.
Oh, I forgot about that shit. Yeah,
Do you believe that?
yeah. They
I
have
mean,
it. They
it has to be at this
It's
point.
too
I've
late.
heard it's already out in the wild.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I heard people already have the game. Like,
it's
so
way too late to say no.
yeah, it's broken street date. So I mean, fuck, dude, like it's happening. So yeah, we got Cyberpunk next week, and it's just like fuck, dude. And there's one other game I want to play too, the Pathless. I've been hearing a lot of fucking great things about that game, and I really, really am interested in it. So I
Yeah,
don't know,
all
dude.
right.
It's too many games,
My
Montrell.
game I'm looking forward to is that I can't remember the name. It's an indie game like Spirit of Korra, something like that. Little
Oh, fuck. Oh my god, Spear of Kenna or something like
yeah,
that.
something like that, or Kona, something
Yeah,
like that. Like, yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
I'm really looking
It
forward to
was shown at the PS5 event in June.
it. Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it. Oh my god. No, isn't it Kenna like Bridge of Spirits or something like that? I feel like that's it. I don't remember, damn it. Oh, it's
it
killing
is.
me.
It is. Kena Bridge of Spirits. You got it.
Oh, see, there you go, man. All right.
It
Look.
doesn't look like it's not coming out till March of next year, but that's actually like one of my most anticipated games so far. I'm really looking forward to
Yep.
that game. That game looks really fucking cool. I like little games
It
like
looks good.
that. Yeah.
It does look good. So so yeah. Yeah, guys. Any of you who are still here, hope you enjoyed our spoilers discussion. We will be back next week. I'm not going to do the normal rigmarole. We already did that. So, thank you for listening this week. If you've stuck with us this far, we really appreciate those of you who have. And we will see you guys next week. All right. Bye.